Hello, you wonderful, wonderful people. We are here bringing you some ESL Battlefield 4 5-on-5 domination goodness, and I have my partner in crime, so to speak, or my partner in casting, Mr. Dogbert. Good evening, Mr. Dogbert.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, he's awake. Good. Wow, what are the odds? Anyway,
just Skype, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's distracted by shiny things. Happens to me all the time. Anyway, what I wanted to do is just talk about obviously what we're going to be bringing you. So this is the first test cup being run by the ESL. Now, for those of you who have not seen the portal, you should check out the Battlefield portal for the ESL. And that information there will tell you all sorts of good stuff, like, for example, you know, what the plans are for Battlefield 4, how things are going. Now, the most important thing is these are test cups. These are the things that we are going to be doing to try and find out how the game mode handles the competition, how the teams manage to adapt to certain things, all this kind of stuff. This is all important things that the ESL and the teams need to get a grip of. So, domination. What's your thoughts on it so far, Dogbert? Because you've obviously been, you know, out there doing your thing and all the rest of it. How have you found domination first?
Domination, I must admit, when I first played it was obviously in the beta. It was on Siege of Shanghai. I was a bit taken back. It's probably the first time I played a game quite like it, where the spawns were, well, it felt very random. Obviously, warmed up to it much more. Been playing it a lot more. Obviously, it is the official game mode so far of this test cup, and maybe for competitive BF in the future, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, this is what the test cup is for, but it is still very much like Conquest. But with no vehicles, spawn timers are much faster than they were previously. You have about 4 seconds, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, on spawning back into the game. You do not have to spawn directly onto your teammates. You can spawn randomly on the map. That can be slightly manipulated by positions of enemy players, but not always. But it still works on the classic conquest of ticket bleeds. So the team with the majority of flags will start a ticket bleed. This forces the opponents to make a grab or do something. If they do not, and their deaths continue, they will pretty much lose the game in quick order.
Right, now, one thing to bear in mind, guys, obviously, as this is the first ESL Test Cup that we're running, there is an awful lot of teams involved. So we are looking at, we're looking at 128 bracket, or something along those lines. It's an insane amount of teams. And they're all battling it out to be christened the first, I suppose, champion of Battlefield 4, the test champion. So, obviously, under circumstances, you then have to go on. Once you've been tested as the champion, you then have to go on to get the full deal, so to speak. So, whether or not that's going to happen, we'll have to wait and see. But this is a great opportunity for teams out there who want to get involved with competitive gaming.
This is a brilliant opportunity for the Battlefield community. Obviously, as you're saying, it's a test cup. So maybe a start of a brilliant career for a team which has maybe never been quite well known in the BFC, or it will be an old favourite coming in and reclaiming their glory in the new title, which is BF4.
Yes, indeed. Now, what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to show everybody on the stream a little bit of information on the bracket. So you can see there, literally, this is the kind of bracket situation that we're looking at, and you can see the amount of slots that are available in there. That's a serious amount of bracketing going on. And let's talk about some of the maps. Now, the good thing is that the admins have not discounted any of the maps, the 10 maps that were released for Battlefield 4. So let's go through and talk about some of these maps, because obviously we've played all of these ones. And what we want to do is just talk about all the various maps, talk about how things, how we found them personally, and just give you guys an idea of what's involved. So what we're going to do is you're just going to talk about the maps. Now, Zavod 311. Now, this is the one that's set in the abandoned Russian tank factory. How have you found that one, Dogbert?
I found this map to be kind of hit and miss. Now, I find that there's obviously 3 flags. It's standard for domination. There is going to be a lot of roof camping in this map. Obviously, 2 flags find themselves in the 2 opposing tank factories, with a one out in the parade area, which is covered by a lot of burnt-out old Russian tanks. I think this game mode is pretty much going to revolve around the roofs and all about the roofs. There are obviously ways into the flags below the tunnels, but it is generally going to revolve around who has domination of the roofs.
Okay. Well, no, that's definitely the case. I mean, obviously, one thing that is going to happen is you've obviously got those tunnels that run in between the 2 complexes that can enable... Now, the thing is, obviously, the problem is with tunnels is that it's very easy to lock them down because they are essentially a choke point. But it also gives the opportunity for teams and players to go from one point to another, at least maybe sneakily, up behind them. Did you see a lot of that when you were playing?
I think, obviously, the tunnels are going to be very important for the team that has to find themselves on the offensive. But I still think the roofs are going to prove to be the cornerstone of every team's defence. The ability to quickly jump off the roofs and operate their parachute and quickly find themselves contesting another flag is going to pretty much lead to most of the firefights, I believe, taking place upon the roofs. You can come in from below the tunnels, but you're still coming in from very predictable spots, and the enemy with grenades and so forth will be able to most likely pin them down in those tunnels.
Right. Now, the next map on the list. Let's talk about Flood Zone. Now, obviously, if you're an aquaphobe, it's not really your kind of map. Lots of verticality on there. Obviously, once the levee is broken, the whole level floods by at least a story, and that actually changes it up. Now, obviously, on Domination, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Levolution events actually even being done. They're going to be focusing on the actual gameplay itself, wouldn't you think, Dogbert?
Levolution is very much a conquest only, and well, a few other game modes, but Domination is solely infantry. So no Levolution, except from the minor Levolution, which you will see in this game, which is certain things being destroyed and certain things being activated. So let's take Shanghai, for example. You can close the shutters, it shuts off the showroom, which is quite important. You've also can take down certain ramps, which can lead onto the roof and so on. So there's minor Levolution, but nothing on the scale of dams exploding or buildings collapsing.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're not going to see the Revolution, so none of the boats will come into play, all that kind of stuff. It's never going to be an issue. This is predominantly going to be 5-on-5 infantry combat only, Dogbert.
Sorry, what was that there?
This is going to be primarily 5-on-5 infantry combat. You're not going to see any boats usage.
5-on-5 only. There is no vehicles at all. This is kind of a tradition in Battlefield. Now, obviously, Battlefield is very much a game of vehicles, planes, and helicopters, you would believe. But it has a long tradition in the competitive scene of 5v5 infantry only. Now, this stretched back all the way to 42. And has been the cornerstone of competitive Battlefield ever since then. It took a life of its own mainly near the end of 42 and very much into Battlefield 2. So this is probably the first time there's been a game mode really suited to it, but it is a regular occurrence in the BFC.
Okay, let's talk about Golmud Railway. Now, this is a pretty large map, quite spread out. Now, obviously, how have you found that to be? Has that been suited to domination because of the design of the map? What's your thoughts on that particular map?
I'd say this is probably my least favourite map in the pool. It's pretty big. I don't really know how it is going to work. This is the one which I think is going to be the most interesting to watch, because I think it's going to be very all over the place. But that's what the Test Cup is for, so we will find out how Railway is played properly in BF4 soon.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a giggle. Now, obviously, we move on to the Lankang Dam. Now, that's got quite a few high vertical buildings, obviously. Camper Central, as everybody likes to say. How have you found that one to be?
I found this one to be, well, pretty much as you described. I think it's going to be a very defensive map for the team that gets the initial holds on the first two flags. And I think that is something you're going to see quite a lot in Domination, which is the teams are going to end up going for the first flag, obviously, and then just really contesting the second one, and mainly not really even trying to test their opponent's one. How it'll work on this one, I think this is the most classic sense of a very defensive and hold-fast map.
Okay, now, moving on to some of the other maps on there. Parasail Storm, now that's another of those open maps that may not necessarily be suited to 5-on-5 combat. Obviously, there's a lot of jungling type area in there, and if you're a jungler, then that's exactly the kind of thing that would appeal to you. How have you found the playstyle to actually be on Domination for this particular map, Dogbert?
For Domination, I actually really enjoy this map. I think it's actually going to come out quite well. You have a flag point right in the centre, which is very open, but with a bit of cover at the early game, but will probably be annihilated after a few grenades get thrown into it, and it will. There is kind of a bunker area at which, I don't know, if there were boats coming in, this is where they would find it hardest, but obviously this is 5v5 infantry, so they won't. And then there's more of a hill area, and I think that one will be the flag point which will be most in flux between the two teams. It will change hand the most, I believe. But all in all, I actually really enjoyed this map.
Right, now, let's talk about Operation Locker, otherwise become known as Operation Meat Grinder. Do you think there's any kind of validation in that particular statement there, Dogbert?
I think so. It's pretty much constant infantry fighting. I really don't know how this map's going to play out. As the Test Cup is here for this, we'll see, won't we?
We shall indeed. We shall indeed. Now, looking down to the bottom few that are remaining, Hainan Resort, if that's how you pronounce it. Now, I know for a fact you actually quite like this map, don't you, Dogbert?
I think this is easily my favourite map at the moment. I definitely think it is one of the more... I looked at it originally, I was just like, this is going to be fun. And then I realised this is going to be a lot of fun. You obviously have a lift which can take you up to the very top of the roof. You have two flags on either side and one out in the courtyard. The courtyard one, which will be the one which everyone is trying to get their hold on, and the other two will basically be one team holds and tries to go out for the middle flag. Train. Yes, it's going to be an interesting one, that.
Now,
I think we might have game. Hold on. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just sending you a link to a possibility. Now, Obviously, I'm not going to ask you about Siege of Shanghai because I've already done a cast on that. People are aware of what's going on with Domination now. Obviously, the last few ones that are left in the map list, if I just quickly cut to that, we can see obviously Rogue Transmission and Dawnbreaker. Now, Dawnbreaker, obviously, quite a dark map but well lit, and Rogue Transmission, another of those very big maps. Just wondering how those kind of handle Domination.
I think this one is going to be a lot of fun, actually. I think this will be quite a fluid and fast-paced game on this map, and I am very interested to see what's going to happen when you have two very aggressive teams on it. I think you're going to see a high kill ratio.
Yeah, that should be quite cool, actually. Looking forward to that. And now, one thing we need to talk about, obviously, is weapons. Now, when it comes to these kind of things, pretty much most of these guys, because it's 5-on-5 infantry, you're pretty much going to see most of these guys playing assault. Now, if you were going into a match like this, what kind of gun would you take?
The Ace 12 is fast becoming probably the weapon of choice for professional players in BF4 so far. But there is also going to be a lot of AK-12s and maybe a lot of M16s. But honestly, right now, a lot of the players here are not used to a lot of the unlocks. So, in this test cup, we might find the gun which dominates BF4.
Yes, indeed. Now, obviously, we've got to say the M16 just to annoy some of those M16 haters out there, because that's what we're here to do. And I mean, personally speaking, now this is something we were discussing earlier. Even the starter gun for the assault, the AK-12, pretty damn good, I have to say.
This is most definitely the best starting weapon to get in BF4. It was the most used in the beta by anyone who knew what they were going for. If you put it onto burst fire, it was ridiculously powerful, but they have kind of patched that now. It might have been a slight bug. But yeah, if you are looking, say you are interested in leveling up quickly in assault, you must go for the AK-12. It's the best one.
Yeah. Now, I've obviously found that one to be quite good if you do, tap fire, but you can also drop the hammer pretty well on it and chuck an awful lot of lead down there. Now, obviously, you'll see the other guns in there. Would you think we're going to see focus predominantly on the assault rifles, or maybe we'll see some carbines mixed in there? Because obviously, the ACWR, you've got that high cyclic rate. You can spit a lot of bullets down the field, but obviously, it doesn't have the same level of accuracy that the assault rifle might have. What's your thoughts on that?
I think you're going to see a lot of very peculiar weapon choices, but a lot of very standardized ones. Now, the difference between the carbines and so on is very minimal, I think, in the way some of they're going to be used in some of these maps. But I think, depending on the situation, you might see a lot of more close-quarter submachine guns being used. But it all depends on how the players feel. If you don't feel that comfortable with a weapon, you might find yourself switching quite a bit. But it all depends on how... you usually find with competitive players that they get very attached to a certain style of weapon. They know how it reacts, they know the recoil and so on. And they generally find that they stick with those, even in the situations where they really should have switched weapon.
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. That they've got their favourite weapon, and even if all the facts at their fingertips are telling them it's not the weapon to use, they still don't want to let go of their baby, so to speak. That's kind of a mentality you see quite often. You go with what you know, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it's something that might actually die a death in BF4, because I think there's so many different weapons to try out, and obviously nothing is set in stone right now, and no one is really being able to set the trend, except from the obvious players are obviously using the Ace-12, but I think that could change very quickly.
Now, just wanted to let you guys know what's going on. Now, obviously, what we're doing at the moment is everyone's just sorting through which matches are going to cast. We're talking to the admins who are obviously juggling many, many things at this current moment. And there is, of course, another caster team out there as well who are working hard. Good shout out to both of those guys. Now, we are looking at trying to get onto a server, so unfortunately you have to listen to us drone on incessantly until such times as we get confirmation that we can get onto that server, and then we'll be away. So we'll just see if we can get on there. My cohort, James, is Mr. Dogbert, of course, is working hard to get us access to that server and passing on the information. So, in the meantime, it's a case of, what we might even try and do, actually, is put a little straw poll into Twitch chat. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what that program is, straw poll enables us to take a quick poll as to who will be the winner of the match that we are going to be playing or going to be commentating on. So this might be an opportunity for you guys to get involved, and we'll see how the actual betting goes, so to speak, to see who has the advantage. As we're looking at the moment, one of the matches we're looking to do is going to be Exertus versus CREiZiZ. Now, these guys are Swedish, so they just, people just like messing with my inability to use the English language, but these things happen anyway. So, that's what we're looking at the moment. This is going to be Domination. Obviously, guys, we appreciate your patience as we get everything into place, and we're bringing you the action as quickly as we possibly can. But obviously there's a few kinks to work out. There's issues like, for example, people have private servers, but they haven't actually necessarily thought that maybe spectators might want to spectate what they're watching. But these are minor things. These are the kind of things that are worked out by the admins, worked out by the teams, worked out by the casters, and will always happen with any new game. You're going to have problems. You're going to have working things out, so to speak, getting the bugs out of the system. Now, anything you want to add to that, Mr. Dogbert?
Not really. I think what a lot of people will want to know about this cup is there is no rules at all. There is no rules on anything, really. So anything can be used. You will probably see a lot of explosions. You'll see a lot of things being used that you generally might not see in the future. So you might see something here which you will never see ever again in competitive Battlefield.
That's definitely a possibility. Now, let's just see if we can get on this server. Now, obviously, we're having fun and games because I've got the best design keyboard in the entire world. I actually have a Razer keyboard here that is not only black, is not backlit, and has black writing on the keys. So, I am currently doing my best Helen Keller impression, so to speak, and trying to see whatever is going on this damn keyboard. Ah, there we go. So, we should be getting into the server in a matter of seconds, and then we'll be bringing you all the action from Exertus. Is that how we pronounce it? Exertus? I don't know.
Yes.
Versus CREiZiZ. Or we call them CREiZiZ, so. Now, obviously, guys, bear in mind, you guys are aware of the problems with Battlefield 4 at the moment. There are ongoing issues that everybody is aware of. There are possibilities we may have server crashes, we may have client crashes. We ask you to bear with us while we go through this system. So, thank you very much for your patience. I hope you enjoy what you will be seeing. And it looks like the map rotation that they may have chosen is Operation Locker. So, yeah, this is going to be a bit messy, I think.
This is going to be a very much, to anyone who'd played BF3 out there, this is going to be very much like Metro, but with maybe being a bit too harsh there. It's going to pretty much revolve around a lot of close quarter infantry fighting, which is going to become the hallmark of BF, I believe, in Domination. But this map accentuates it even more. It is so close quarter, it's crazy. You're playing in an old prison, I believe?
You are indeed.
It's either a prison or a gold reserve. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Goldfinger recently.
Really? I would say it's a prison because it's got that circular thing in the centre there. So unfortunately, I don't have much knowledge of prisons. So now I think it's fair to say. I mean, looking at the tickets, it's been going about 4 minutes. So we make the assumption that it's actually live already, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
I believe we are watching a live game.
Okay, so let's see if we can get into the game, and we shall get everything underway. So, you are watching the ESL Battlefield 4 5v5 Domination Cup, and you are listening to Chadman and Mr. Dogbert, bringing you all the action from Exertus, and you can see now as they're making their way down into that lower level, you can see Looks like a smoke, possibly flashbangs. Oh, this is nice to see flashbangs in Battlefield 4 being used to effective good. Now, obviously, what we're going to try and do is find out how the teams are spreading themselves out. Because as you look on this map, it's pretty much A and B, and then the C, which is the helicopter capture point. Those are the only 2 capture points that are available. Now, this is turning out that a lot of fighting is going on over A and B, Dogbert. It's looking interesting so far.
Right now, Exertus seem to they literally just they just had a full cap there, which is very rare in domination. I think you're going to find, but they're holding on to C and B, and really that's all they have to do right now. They don't have to go for A. They've got the ticket bleed. They're at the advantage. They have the ticket score right now of 163 to 79, and that is going to be going down rapidly.
Yeah, now you can see obviously that now it looks like the US team, which is obviously Exertus, they have captured that point back. So the bleed is looking back onto the Russian team again. However, the CREiZiZ guys, you can see them capturing the helicopter pad. They've now reversed that, and they're looking to try and move in. As you can now see, Exertus taking down the A point as well. And let's see if we can move in on these guys. As you can see, looks like Hadouken's just got taken down, and we're watching Phantom at the moment, and he looks like, yeah, there we go. He's using the Ace 23 as well, as you mentioned before, so you can see plenty of fire coming in. So Hadouken's the only person taken down, and we're just waiting to see what's going on. There we go, a little bit of a back rage, or a side rage, I should say, coming in from Phantom, and he's popping out the nades to try and take these guys down as they're defending the outward section. Now, you can see, obviously, on the overview here, it looks like Phantom's trying to defend himself from a back rage, and you've also got Hadouken down there as well, trying to defend himself from this back rage, which the CREiZiZ guys do look like was not successful. Very unfortunate for them there, Dogbert, and you can see their ticket numbers are now dropping like a stone.
Right now, they are obviously well behind, so they need to get themselves a hold on the flag, and they're doing that into B right now. But what they're finding out, really, is when it comes to the one-on-one infantry engages, they're kind of not coming out well. But because they're grouping up in such numbers, they're finding themselves, they capture a flag, but then their opponents are already capturing either one or graying out a second. So they really need to be able to spread out, but spread out in a way that they can actually win a few of these one-on-one fights.
Yeah. Now, obviously, let me just check something. No, that didn't work. Sorry, just testing a few bits and pieces in the background there. Sorry about that. While trying to juggle many chainsaws while we work. So now you can see the bleed is back onto the US team. So Exertus now lost 3 of their team. And you can see King Revo. Now, let's think of what he's doing. It looks like we're following him now, and we're watching him make his way over. It looks like we've got a little bit of a side rage going on from him with his teammates moving over. So you can see he's moving in to Site A to try and move into that point at the same time as Blackie then also moves up as well. So let's see if we can lock in on Blackie. Now you can see him in there as well. That looks like the 416 he's running at the moment. And you can see, oh, lovely grenade coming in onto the CREiZiZ guys. And a lovely back rage coming in. Rizzo the Rat and Edvin Leak taken down as well. And there goes Silgrissa.
As you see once again, Exertus is winning every of the infantry engages, and quite convincingly, and most of the time they're doing it when they're actually outnumbered, which is really disconcerting for crew here.
Yeah, now, obviously, you can see then that the US team have got the bleed back onto the Russian team, and they've gone out and they've taken that helicopter pad. And now you can see the Swedish team trying their best to try and get that point, as now you can see 4606 in there. Unfortunately, he was unsuccessful in reviving Phantom and is now moving up to support his teammates, as you can see, Rizzo the Rat. And they're down to about 8 tickets. I think it's fair to say this is going to be all over for the CREiZiZ team, and not looking good. But a good display here by Phantom and the Exertus team. What do you reckon?
Yeah, they seem to have the general better infantry players. It seems their FP skill is totally all over them. And there you go, 143 tickets to 0 on the first round of Operation Locker.
Indeed, yes. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? It's definitely a prison. But yeah, it's that was now look at that, King Revo with 17-3, really good score. And to be honest, look at the scores of all of Exertus. They are doing really well. That's really a good first round, I suppose you could say, for the team, and we shall obviously move on and see what they have chosen for the second round. So far, obviously, 143 tickets in their favour. Now, obviously, tell us how the tickets will actually work when it comes to the second round. Can you explain a little bit more detail for those out there listening and watching?
Well, hopefully this is the first round, and we haven't catch the second round of this map. But the way the ticket system will basically work is that whoever you start with 250 or is it 220? Either way, you will at the end of a round, like just there, 143 tickets. So next round, for this team to win this map, they will have to at least get over 143 tickets. Now, the best way to do that is to hold on to 2 of the main flags and to revive as much as possible and keep their tickets. Now, it starts at 200. So, yeah, they need to get on to hold 2 flags and basically not drop any deaths. Because you can, technically, you can lose while still holding the majority of flags, but the death rate would have to be insane for that to happen.
Now, one good thing is, obviously, we've got a countdown, so there's 20 seconds for the guys to sort out their final strats, and you can see essentially the spawn area of the 2 teams. You can see the US team on the right hand side near the B, and the Russian side near the A, and then obviously everyone's going to try and get the C to get that additional bleed onto their enemy. Now obviously, because it's outside, makes combat situations a little bit more difficult, and ladies and gentlemen, the teams are underway.
And here you go, you have 4 going straight for B, with 1 going out to C. I think it's pretty much a standard move for most teams, but I would have expected CREiZiZ to maybe send out maybe 2 players out there. I think they're finding out why they should have done that very quickly, as King Revo comes in and basically takes C for Exertus.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. I mean, obviously, King Revo in there as well with XTS 4606. They've actually, they had a second guy move up, and he unfortunately wasn't able to do anything. But now they're in a back rage situation onto the B bomb site, and this is the B capture point, and this is going to be a problem now because you can see there's only Rizzo, Edvin, and Hinkas who are remaining. And this is going to be a serious problem, looking out for these guys, as now we're watching King Revo moving in. You can see him watching those isolation cells, spamming the fire. He then gets taken down as well. And you can now move on, and let's find out. It's 4606 taking some fire, hiding behind cover, trying to get a pick. But he then gets quickly taken down by suppressive fire from the CREiZiZ team. And that was looking pretty good. It looks like they're going to hold that point, but they've got to get out there. They've got to use that opportunity, that lull in the attack. But they're being back raged. This is terrible.
But basically what happened there is you had King Revo and a guy with many numbers in his name holding down the entranceway to C, basically locking CREiZiZ into the B point. They managed to actually open up that gateway, and they could have gone for C, but they were still pinned down by firefights coming in the 2 tunnels. This led to a very interesting spawn point, which is randomized, obviously, right behind CREiZiZ at B, which caught them completely by surprise, and when they should have been trying to spread out to try and get a control of C, or at least threaten A, they stayed still because they were pretty much paralyzed by getting shot from either side.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation. Obviously, like you were saying before, there is a certain amount of control that you have over some of the spawns depending on your position. But we'll just have to wait and see how that works. As we're now watching Revo, now you can see Revo moving out to try and recapture the helicopter pad, taking one of the enemy down, as you can see, and he is now trying to hold that point. And then you can see most of these guys with the med bags, obviously if they've got the ace, then they're pretty much going to have the med bags as well. And now he's looking for an opportunity to try and do a back rage onto the B point. And you can see now...
This is when they're going to be surprised, because the random spawn points of domination are going to throw their curse on against Exertus here, as 2 players from CREiZiZ have turned out to spawn right behind them at C.
Yeah, now I know...
Both of them were taken down instantly. I mean, Exertus are basically showing that they are the superior FPS players on this map.
Yeah, you saw that pretty nasty there. And you can see them basically, as soon as they came round onto that helicopter pad, one of the members who was obviously pushing up towards A, I think it was A, yeah. No, sorry, moving up towards B, basically decided to cycle round and move down towards C and take out those two guys who were back raging them. So now the bleed is still on the Russian team, but if you look at the tickets, the Russian team currently with 190 and the US team with 116 now. So the bleed is currently in the favour of XTS.
As you're seeing now, XOZ are definitely having to push in force to get even hold of any flag. The problem is they're not moving very quick. They're very predictable. They're getting caught up in very slow and very monotonous whole fights, which is pretty much leaving Exertus to basically bring enough people to the right area and pin them down. They're not getting even contesting a flag here, whereas they just go in there now and they are, just as I called it.
Well, yeah, that's the reason you're the expert. What can I say? Now, you can see, obviously, the CZ guys now basically been taken out, and it looks like they've managed to get... They've cycled around, they've worked around and rotated around to get the A point at the same time as they're losing the B point, and it looks like also the C point is still secure. But you can also see that the Sweetag is now moving down towards the C point, and they're going to try and engage the Exertus guys. There we go, one taken down. There is another who's taking cover. Maybe they can use this to their opportunity, popping out the nades to see if they can actually do any kind of serious damage. Getting that all-important pick as one of his teammates is moving forward, and now you can see additional members of Exertus now moving in to support that push, or defend that push that's coming in. And yeah, this is looking pretty nutty because you just see Hadoukens defending from two of the Swedes. You can see, there we go, nade goes out and a nice quick fire coming in from the 416, taking down the enemy man.
Playing 2v1 on that corner, and he was able to tie down a significant amount of the team trying to get through to B. While they were trying to contest at C, Hadouken himself managed to hold down at least 2 to 3 members of the opposing team.
Yeah, now we're watching him do exactly the same, and he's just done exactly the same to Sweetag. And so you can see, obviously, that Hadouken, 13-3, I'm not surprised now. That's interesting. You notice that he got onto that point and took the lights out. So that may be giving him just that little bit of an edge. We'll have to wait and see. He can spot his enemy before his enemy can spot him. And you can see him running through the corridors at the moment. Edvin Leek being taken down. And now you can see the C point and the A point being held by Russia. And the US team down to 56 tickets are rated to 179. Not looking good for the Swedish team at the moment, Dogbert.
No, they've lost a significant amount of tickets. I don't think they can get a handle back on this game. They seem to be completely surrounded whenever they do try and move out, and when they stay where they are totally locked down. What they can do here is try and get as many tickets as possible. That will carry through into the next game, so they just need to try and get as good a hold as they can, get as many kills and just be as aggressive as possible. They're going to lose this map, they can't win this map, so they got to do as much damage as they possibly can. But I mean, the thing about Exertus in this map right now is when they do lose one of their flags and they do lose a big team fight, they basically en masse instantly take one flag and move people immediately to the other where they know the enemy team is nowhere nearby, to instantly threaten 2 flags within 10 seconds of losing a fight.
Now that's obviously going to be quite an important strategic decision, because these kind of things definitely help you, because like you're saying, you're focusing people's attention, you're suddenly tearing them between 2 different capture points, and that's obviously going to be a big thing when it comes to this kind of domination gameplay, Dogbert.
Does indeed, and I think the only thing that really changes this map from not being a complete shutdown is the domination's spawn point. So if you are finding yourself very much all over one spawn point, your opponent is likely going to spawn in a very awkward position behind you.
Yeah, and that's part of the excitement, I suppose you could say, and part of the randomness. Now, obviously, part of the problem that you tend to have is that semi-pros and pros and competitive players tend not to like randomness in their games.
No, not at all.
Indeed. So, because essentially you put randomness into the game, and it takes down an element of skill that's involved. So we're now watching Edvin having a little bit of a run-in, and he traded with 4606, but the tickets are down to 9. And there we go, Silgrissa has just managed to revive one of his teammates, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The tickets are wearing down too quickly. The bleed is so effectively on them.
A and C. I mean, we could see an epic comeback, but no, it looked like Exertus are flowing into A like a dam has burst all over that flag.
Yeah, they basically came in en masse and cut down anybody who was trying to defend that point. So that's going to wear out the few remaining tickets as 4606 goes on. Now, you'll notice also that they're actually leaving one guy back at the flag to try and defend that. You noticed also that during the point of that, they were actually splitting up their team. One person defending one flag, one person covering another entrance to another flag with two guys running in the middle. It was very interesting to see, Dogbert.
Was indeed. Exertus basically played like a top-level battlefield team. They spread out when they were about to lose a flag. They concentrated in the right place at the right time, and they locked down their opponents when they had the full two-flag advantage. The only thing that even saved the Swedes from being completely locked in were the spawn points. And also, I give a shout to Hadouken for his 23-4, and more importantly, his critical bit where he was managing to hold down the entire Swede team in a corridor by himself, taking them out, and then going to A and repeating it all over again.
Yeah, I suppose that's an indication of a good player, is the kind of player that you can put into an area and you know that he's actually going to hold that point, do as much damage as he can to the opposing team, and then still be able to then move from there. Now, obviously, we've moved on to Lankang Dam, but we don't know if this is actually going to be the actual map itself. So we're waiting to see what's going on with that, and we're obviously waiting for confirmation, because it's possible they may change. So we shall have to wait and see, boys and girls. As an interesting first map, obviously, that's very closed in. The inbound, or so not so the indoor aspect of it makes things very interesting, makes things very claustrophobic. Obviously, you can get a few nice bounce grenades off the side of walls. Did you see the use of any smoke grenades, any flashbangs, or any incendiary grenades, Dogbert?
No, I didn't. I seen a very much standard kind of Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 domination game. Most people just played to their strengths, which I guess is their infantry play. No one was really experimenting with anything, really. It was pretty much just fast and furious 5v5 domination infantry battles.
Right, now, it looks like we might... Let's see. Are we talking about a live game? What do you think? I can guess that we are, because we're just looking at the moment.
It's 4v5 right now.
Okay, so we'll assume it's not live until such times as we have confirmation that one of the other CRZ guys is back on the server, and then we'll get underway.
Also, 3 of them haven't spawned yet. I mean, they've just all rejoined now. By the way, guys, before I said there was no rules, I was kind of wrong. There is no M32 grenade launcher, no airburst, no claymore, and no M26.
Now, that's quite interesting, because obviously the airburst gets used a lot on pubs. Very helpful for clearing out those naughty little snipers. However, understandable that it's not in competitive play. What's your thoughts on that, genuinely, as a weapon?
Airburst?
Yeah.
Oh god, it kills me in publics all the time, and I'm happy it's not been used in competitive game. God damn.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Now, obviously, the M320, everyone's favourite spam weapon, especially on that prison map. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to say. Now, obviously, they said also claymores, I think, were banned as well.
Claymores are indeed banned, and that's a good thing, because there is a special place in hell for anyone who ever uses a claymore.
Yeah, what can I say? You're not sounding exactly, what's the word I'm looking for? Impartial on the matter of claymores there, Dogbert.
No. I was playing a public earlier, I got killed by a claymore. And,
oh, right, so claymore rage,
I
yeah?
will never shake that man's hand.
You'd rather rip it off him and then beat him to death with it, but never mind.
I'll stick an explosive that goes off if he walks by it, then yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's only fair. A little bit of, good-hearted mass murder is all what we were here about. So you can see, obviously, a little bit of pistol fire going on. All the guys warming themselves up. Looks like they're all doing a little bit of pistol fun. The Exertus guys in there with a little bit of pistol goodness. Now, obviously, when it comes to pistols, have you found a particular favourite that you like using so far?
I actually have not got to use many of the pistols. I'm still stuck on the default one. I haven't unlocked the rest just yet. But hopefully they will have the return of the hand cannon from BF3, the Magnum. Right,
okay, it looks like they've done a quick restart, so we might be underway with this particular map. So We're just waiting for confirmation. And I think, let's check our numbers. Yeah, they've got everybody in, so I think it's a fair assumption that this is going to be the map of choice for the second round, or the second map, I should say.
Yes, this is the map.
So, you have the 3 points. You have the laboratory at A. You have in the main tower, the B point, and the C point as well. Now, obviously you've got those sky bridges to go in between, which are going to be interesting choke points, but they can still go down to lower levels and bypass them by going up the stairwell, Dogbert.
It's going to be an interesting map. I think this is going to be quite a fluid one, but with a lot of heavy-duty fighting within the buildings. It'll be interesting to see how much they want to actually get stuck into the buildings and how much they want to stay on the outside.
Now, that was interesting. I just saw a quick split of a 2-2-1 split by Exertus as they're now moving up, making use of the cover as they're moving up towards the building. So obviously the research building has been captured, and the B point has been captured also by the Russian team, and now you can see them moving in. And obviously the advantage that the Russian team has is that they are actually holed up in those buildings already. So we just have to wait and see how things turn out, as we shall watch Phantom making a run into one of the reception areas. He gets taken down as he tried to hide behind one of the columns, and you can now see Sweetag. Oh, Sweetag being finished off with a 416, and then Exertus then being taken down. We're looking at Hadoukens. He's now moving across one of the sky bridges to try and attack them down in the reception when they're busy signing for their baggage and other things along those lines.
He managed to get right behind and take out 2 of the opposing Swedes, and that gives them B flag now.
Yeah, now obviously,
instead of being tied down in the little infantry fighting in the building, like I said before, used the advantage of a big open space around the back and got behind them, instead of being stuck in constant room-to-room fighting.
Yeah, now that's always the danger when it comes to a map like this. Now we're obviously watching Hadouken as he's into obviously the big scanning area. As you can see, he pops out a med pack just to make sure that he's not taking any damage, or at least any damage that he does take gets healed up very quickly. Out go the nades into that area where the CRZ guys are trying to defend. They've been taken down, and the flag is going to get very quickly captured. And now we're looking at a situation where the ticket difference 180 to 176. So there's not a huge amount of difference, like you're saying. This has so far turned out to be quite a fluid map when it comes to 5v5 domination, Dogbert.
It does indeed. I mean, what you're seeing here is usually a 4-man push or holding back to defend one flag, with one guy from each team trying to make a penetration somewhere so they can get to the flag and kind of pull the main team back. And say if they lost the initial 4v4, they would all be able to mass spawn upon their teammate and threaten a flag.
Well, that's exactly what happened, because the CRZ guys literally spawned 4 together and went in and attacked that point at C. Now, unfortunately for them, oh, look at that. There's Rizzo the Rat trying to defend himself against multiple Exertus, but unfortunately taken down as he was looking to his teammate for a little bit of extra support as Blackie comes up the stairs, takes down the enemy, pops a heal onto one of his teammates, and they're trying to avoid those bombs, the grenades coming down. Now, it looks like these grenades are the contact grenades rather, so they're not bouncing off the walls that much. And you can see them moving in as, unfortunately, Silgrassi gets taken down, as we're now moving with the CRZ team as they're moving in towards the A point. And let's see if we can follow Hadoukens, because he's in there again. And
Hadouken and Phantom managed to get to A while it was the rest of the CRZ team was busy fighting at C. Managed to capture A. A big spawn from CRZ managed to be very close nearby, but both Hadouken and Phantom basically took them all out, and they're holding A very easily right now.
Yeah, now obviously the problem is that the sheer number of people that are there, you've then obviously got those 2 guys who are holding down A. The B point means that, do you think that Exertus are actually going to sit there and say, well, we've got the A point and we've got the C point, the bleed is now onto the opposing team, we've got nothing to lose, we can just sit here and wait for them to turn up?
Basically. I mean, this is going to be the hallmark of domination. You've got 2 flags, you've got your guys defending it. What's the point in doing anything other than holding on and bleeding the flags. If the opposing team want to come out, you're in a good defensive position. They're the ones coming to you. You're most likely going to pick them off. The only thing that's going to throw off any of these well-timed and good defenses is going to be the spawns from places they don't expect.
Yeah, that random spawn will definitely do them a number. Now, one thing that's quite interesting to see, obviously, is the way that they're splitting up the teams. Now, it looks like Exertus' team just got taken down quite badly in the area of the C point. But you can see the CRZ guys still trying to push. It looks like Sweetag just got revived and looks to go a little bit lower to see if he can push towards Blackie and friends. Now, Blackie, obviously, it looks like they're covering these areas quite well as far as I can see here, Dog, but it looks like a couple of them just got taken down in the B lobby. And you've obviously got one upper and one lower at the laboratory for Exertus. And now let's see what's going on. They're doing a really good job of holding that A point. And then obviously floating between the A and the B point to try and ensure that the bleed remains on the opposing team. As it looks like we've had another of those lovely random spawns. And in come XTS. And they're about to back rage a few members of the Swedish team. There we go. They just got taken down very quickly. And it looks like that point C is about to be recaptured by XTS. And now they can move on.
I mean, what was very interesting is when CRZ went into C as an entire 5-man, they took the point. But as soon as that happened, the two that were defending A moved straight into B, were able to capture the flag, and then... So this is going to become a regular occurrence. If you overcommit to capturing a flag, the opposing team is going to instantly then just all out take your rear. You haven't got enough to defend it. They're more fluid. They're moving in quick.
Now, obviously, this is
one flag, it's brilliant, but they are going to come and take the one you're not defending.
Now, this is obviously, some might say it's a downside, but also that's part of the tactical challenge of playing 5-on-5, and is to know, basically, to pick and choose your battles, I suppose. Is that how you would put it?
Yeah, but you also got to know when you've lost a battle and when you're just holding ground for the sake of letting your team reposition and capture a flag. What you've seen from Exertus is they basically were holding 3 at C and 2 at A. As soon as their 3 at C were overwhelmed by a 5-on-3, they respawned over on A and just took B straight away.
Right, yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, obviously, we're just looking at the XTS guys, and you can see Edwin trying to move up towards them, and he's trying to push into B, but the trouble is that I don't know why they're pushing into B, because there seems to be a large majority of the defenders are at B. So you've got 2 defenders at B, and then you've got 1 guy or possibly 2 guys who are defending C, and then you have a guy who what appears to basically be floating between B and C to try and shore up any kind of defences for when the Swedish team push in, Dogbert.
It's very much the case. As soon as their opponents can, as soon as Exertus can work out exactly where their push is coming, as they tried to go around the back of C there, it was spotted quite quickly, and then they basically concentrated their force and defended C as a 3-on-2. How the Swedes react to this? They should really be pushing on B, but they're not having any luck on the equal footing when it comes to a 2v2 or a 1v1. They generally have to be going in 4v2 or more.
And it's that advantage, or I suppose disadvantage, when coming onto the 1v1s or the 2v2s, that's going to be a serious problem for them, in able to actually get that bleed off them. Now they're actually down. Now this is interesting. Watching Phantom, he's not moving. All he's doing is watching that corridor between B and C, and also checking left to see where these guys are coming from, as now you can see Phantom just quickly popping, but then get taken down as across the sky corridor comes one of the Swedish team as we move over to Hadouken and see what he's up to as he takes a bit of fire as Hincast finishes him off. And now it's looking interesting, as you can see now the Exertus guys are spawning and coming in with a vengeance onto the B point, Dogbert.
They were pretty much caught out there. As soon as Phantom went down in that corridor, there wasn't a quick redeployment to B, which is what they should have done. They managed to hold on, but that has more to do with the Swedes not committing enough people at the right time. They were too worried about being picked off. They should have at that point flowed into B. There's never going to be enough people to stop them. And that's exactly what they're doing on C now, but they're being picked off quite quickly.
Yeah,
it looks like their push at C is kind of faltering, but they've realised that and they've moved on to B instead, which is a good redeployment as quick as possible.
Now, one thing, obviously, things that changed up compared to Battlefield 3 is the revive mechanic. Now, I'm seeing, obviously, these guys don't wait around for a full charge. They literally just charge, they just do a quick zap, and then chuck a med bag down on them to capture that extra healing. You're seeing this quite often, as obviously they don't really want to wait around because time is of the essence in this game.
The revives are much faster in BF4, especially in Domination. The only time you're going to be able to revive is when you've already won the team fight and there's no worry of anyone shooting you in the back while you're doing it.
Now, obviously, you can see 10 tickets here for the Russian team, not looking good, as Exertus is just doing a great job of showing their dominance on, domination, I suppose you could say. And you can see Sweetag trying to get back in there to try and take that B point. And let's see what's happening, as now you can see two members of XTS there. You can see King Revo and Blackie trying to hold down that C point, as finally they get the bleed turned around, and now the bleed is on the China team. But I don't think that's going to last very long, especially as now we've got King Revo moving in to capture that point very quickly. Sweetag tries to move into the point, try and take him out. They're trading fire at the moment. He looks like he's backed off. And that's it, 133 tickets on that round. That was quite interesting there, Dogbert. What's your thoughts on that overall?
CREiZiZ did much better in this round than they did in the previous one. They managed to get the first two flags and hold up a defense for a while, but slowly but surely the superior FPS and infantry skills of Exertus really just overpowered them, pushed them out, and made it more of a fluid game, which Exertus were able to take full advantage of.
Right, so we should be moving teams around, and then obviously we'll do the second round on this particular map. But it's looking good as far as Exertus is concerned. God damn that name. It's giving me a headache now. I'll have to speak to Phantom and actually find out how to pronounce it properly. But no, this couldn't be any worse than my pronunciation of the Swedish team. Anyway.
I am butchering the Swedish team every time I try and say it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Okay, so we are obviously moving into the next map, and we are just ready to go. And
looks like Exertus has already lost one player on their side. I think you might be looking at another restart.
Yeah, okay, so what we'll do is we'll go based on the assumption that there's going to be a restart. So we'll just sit here and idly wander around in free cam, and obviously, you know, we can talk about the map and have a general thing and all the rest of it. So now, obviously, because there's no broken windows, the free cam doesn't actually let you out of the building, which is a nice little annoyance. But we can get out through one of the doors. Anyway, so now one thing I have noticed is I don't seem to see a lot of roof work. Now, obviously, there's no real way for them to get onto the roof, and there's no need for them to get onto the roof. Obviously, there's not going to be a lot of sniping done on this particular game type, as you can imagine. And yeah, it looks like the STS guys are still trying to get one of their other guys back in. He may have crashed out as per the norm at the moment, so we just have to wait and see how that goes. So yeah, it's all fun and games, ladies and gentlemen. It's all fun and games. I hope you're enjoying, and I hope you are enjoying the cast thus far and the competition. So by all means, comments and feedback are welcome, yes, that too, in the chat. So, oh, looks like a little bit of, oh, there we go. A little bit of shot paddle fun going on. There's poor old Hadouken there, taken down. Oh, someone's smoking. Oh, that was nasty. That was nasty, nasty things going on there. So, obviously, we shall wait. And there we go. It looks like the restart of the round has begun. And we shall be underway any second. So we are loading Lekang Dam again. And I think we're going to be underway any second. So, the countdown has begun.
It has indeed, Chadman.
Indeed. Now, oh God, They've just
More
lost
drop
2
out.
members of CRZ. We've cursed. We've cursed them. It's the commentator's curse again. It happens to me every time I look at somebody on Napoleonic Wars and they end up snuffing it, catching a bullet, or basically taking a cannonball to the face. It's the commentator's curse, as we're going to watch the XTS guys do their calisthenics at spawn, and obviously with a little bit of team killing going on. Who was that sitting on the barbed wire? That's going to hurt. That's Hadoken, proving how hard and Rambo-like he is by sitting on a batch of barbed wire. So let's see. Looks like the other guys are coming back in, so we should be underway pretty soon. Now, I don't know. Let's have a look at the loadout. So it looks like they've got a nice combination of weapons, but it seems that the Ace is pretty much the gun that everybody is using, as you said earlier. So now, obviously, guys, bear in mind, because this is a private server and is not ranked, means that's why we're not getting the squad information on left and right, and that's why we're not getting the gamer card, which will actually show in third person. So, oh god, Phantom's got the sniper rifle, and Phantom gets shot. So, someone set off the car alarms, typical. Even in a game, the car alarms are unreliable. It's always nice to see, and there we have the round restart. So, fun and games. Now, obviously,
We won't get any dropouts.
fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Things seem to have been okay so far. We'll just have to wait and see if it remains that way. Now, obviously, the XTS guys. No, actually, the sides have been swapped, so now it's time of Exertus to defend, and it's time for CRZ to attack.
Yes, on this map it very much favours the Russian side, as they are much closer to C and B, but with a much easier route to B than the Swedes will. The Swedes, to get to B, they're going to be caught between a crossfire mostly. If any of the Exertus guys are hanging at C and still moving to B, they will easily see them coming in. So what you might see is C's are basically rushing to A and then maybe slow pushing to C.
Now, that gave me a flashback to COD 4. Is the first thing that the Exertus guys did, literally, was pop a nade in the general direction of the spawn of the enemy. And that definitely gave me a reminding of COD days, specifically COD 1. So let's see, as you can now see that the Swedes have moved up to the point A, and you can see that point B and point C already taken by Exertus, so they've got that bleed on already. And now it's to their advantage to try and hold it. Let's see how they get on, Dogbert.
Sweet Tag there tried to get into C, but he was cut down in short order. The Swedes now have redoubled their efforts, and they're going to be pushing on B. I don't like a push on B at this point, because it does seem that Exertus are pretty much able to hold the best fire positions, which means moving on B is very difficult. They really need to try and move around as much as possible. Not coming in big clumps the way they're doing, but spread out in small groups. If a few of their guys die moving on to B, then they can move to the floater on either side, and then be able to mass push where Exertus are not going to be well prepared.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, one thing I am noticing is something you tend to see in a lot of games is you have a particular player who's guarding a set point on the map. So it's like, for example, that may be their stairwell, or it might be that particular location. Now, we're watching Phantom as he is trying to sneak around. There we go. He noticed the exit point for those two CZ players. Unfortunately, he's taken down Hinkas, and he is now going to be coming back up. And it looks like the poor CZ guys, or CRZ guys, are down to 4 players yet again. There we go. Edvin looks like he's back on the form. And now you can see as Hadoken has actually moved and is guarding the point that Phantom was holding onto. And you can see as Hadoken moves forward and then they start catching that point again. Now it looks like they might have a full cap out. As 2 members of the CRZ team, Sweet Tag, moving up towards C point. They've got to be very careful here, Dogbert.
King Revo using the amazingly powerful Auto Barat, defending C and just dropping the Swedes. Eventually they overpower him by coming from behind, but that blunted the momentum and that push into C.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. I saw that occurring, and then obviously Hink has just been taken down now. As we're looking, oh, nice back raise there onto Phantom. Phantom gets taken down, and now we're moving on to Rizzo the Rat. Let's have a look on the overall map, and we can see now that they've got a full bleed onto the China team. Not one ticket do the CRZ guys have. And let's see, Rizzo the Rat is in a slightly different location, but oh, he got taken down very quickly. He got up onto one of the roofs and got finished off. Wow, holy crap, that was really nasty. Now you can see Blackie, who's in there at the moment. He's got his hollow sight on the 416, and he looks like he's pacing around, looking for opportunities, looking for the enemy, to try and cut them down as quickly as possible. And you can see some of them moving over towards the A point, and more fire coming in from him as he takes down somebody long distance. Effective fire from the 416, and now we're finding out what's going on as Exertus are taking back that B point, Dogbert.
Well, you just watch the way Exertus is spread out on the tabletop here. They have 2 holding C and 3 at B, which is the perfect setup, because to get to C, sorry, there's a very open spaces. It's very easy to spot anyone coming, and if you are about to get overwhelmed, you can call for assistance from B, which you'll get there quite quickly. Right now, for the Swedes, they really have to attack C more than they have to attack B. B is a really difficult one to get. It's far too difficult to take if the opponent team is sitting there waiting for you.
Now that was interesting. We were just watching through Phantom's eyes. He killed one of the CRZ guys who came around the corner, and then literally just as before he's about to reload, his last round went into the fire extinguisher right next to the door, so that the smoke would actually obscure him while he did a reload. That's smart play there.
Is indeed, and as I was calling, they had to go for C, and they managed to overwhelm the Exertus defenders, but as soon as they take a flag, they pretty much abandon it and don't defend it. So Exertus come back in and instantly recap C, leaving them with the bleed continuing onto the Swede team, and it is at this point only a matter of time.
Okay, right, so let's see what's going on, as we have obviously got plenty going on, and you can see now we're watching Blackie. And you can see, okay, sorry, my Twitch is giving out on me as well, which is always entertaining to watch, as we're watching 4606, as you can see there. There we go. A little bit of fire coming in. Hinkas then being taken down by one of the XTS guys, and now we're watching Phantom checking the area, spotting the enemy, obviously marking out where those enemy are, and it looks like they're pushing that B point pretty hard. Let's see if we can find out what's going on, as now it looks like we could be talking about a possibility of a full bleed very quickly, as the A point looks like it's not being defended by the Chinese team. Dogbert.
Is indeed. I think basically what you're finding here is pretty much how domination is going to be played by the top teams. You are going to basically be holding the 2 flags, and that is about it. Unless you're going to get overwhelmed on one flag, there is no point to switch at all. Basically, the initiative is always in the team that holds the 2 flags. They don't have to do anything crazy. They can just sit back and chew up the opposing team as they try and make risky moves into the flag points.
Right, so we are going to see what's going on around the A point, but we're going to follow Edwin Leet, who's moving in now, as you can see. Now, the thing that's interesting, they've got the A point, and it doesn't look like they're actually defending that A point, as you were saying earlier. Oh, nice. Somebody just picked up the skill cannon sniper rifle and is currently in the process of using it. But what you were saying about earlier actually has applied, as now Exertus is moving in to take down the A point at the same time as CLZ. Rather than moving in to try and take and hold A, they've now lost that, and it's literally becoming like a going round in circles type situation, Dogbert.
Well, definitely, because they've already got a lead. At this point, CRZ are coming in with so many people to capture one single flag, but Exertus are just like, okay, we're going to harass you and try and stop you from capturing this flag quickly. Meanwhile, we'll send 2 to the other flag and capture it immediately, because there is no one there to defend it. They're going all their eggs in one basket continuously, and that's fine for Exertus because they already have 2 flags.
Right. Now, Look at that bleed. 177 and ticket difference to 120. Obviously, the previous round they had 133 tickets. So, yeah, it doesn't look like, unfortunately, the CRZ team are going to progress to the next bracket. It looks like an extremely dominant play. And what's your thoughts on Exertus Watch from what you've seen thus far? Because obviously this is a team that came from America, originally over in America, and they have obviously brought themselves over to EU and UK. So, what's your thoughts about the display that you've seen thus far, Dogbert?
They have proven themselves to be a very solid battlefield infantry squad here. They managed to do all the correct things when they were about to lose flags. They switched their attack immediately to the undefended enemy flag, stopping the chance of a bleed occurring. Their infantry play is top-notch and very good. They are a very surprising team and one to watch in the future.
Definitely. So that looks like 177 tickets to 0 there for those guys, and a very dominant display by XTS. So we shall be trying to find out what the next map that we shall be covering will be and what teams we shall be covering. In the meantime, we shall be bringing you more Battlefield 4 as soon as we possibly can. We shall be looking at the brackets in a second. Let's see how those brackety things are looking. So let's have a look. As we shall now have a look down the bottom. So you can see here the brackets that we were looking at. These are all the brackets that are available. So you can see plenty of teams, and there's so many teams available. So you can see obviously that a few of these teams have got some buys, obviously, and you can see Genetics Gaming, Team Frostbite, Antlion in there as well. And obviously you've got Never Say Die, BF4 and the 49ers. And we're now looking... Hey, look at that. There's a team in there called Dignitas.bf4, Mr. Dogbert.
There is... So I was trying to actually get us that as our next game, but
I know it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, you carry on. You do that. I'm just teasing you, man. It's fun. So anyway, you can see obviously that you've got. Oh god, it's a finish. Looks like finish there. Finns versus Turks. That's going to be a very interesting battle. That's for sure. And they're going to be going up against. I think, are they Swiss? Yeah, I think that might be this Swiss flag. I'm not 100% certain. And I'm not up to speed on my flags. I was never very good at geography and all that kind of funky stuff. So let's just see what's going on. So now you can see, obviously, there's Exertus Esports, Battlefield 4 versus Polish Gaming. And they will go on to play the Midnight Crew from, I believe, Spain. And there are so many teams. Look at all this. Some teams already into the round of 64. Obviously, some have had a bye, some have to play, and we're now moving down to the bottom here. Obviously, you can see Dignitas versus All Against Authority, probably, or possibly we'll just have to wait and see. That'll be FAS 3 against All Authority, so that will be an interesting map. The winner will go up against Dignitas BF4, and we're moving down here, so you can see these two guys here, Never Die, BF4 and 49ers are going to be playing against Wolfpack, Polish, which should be an interesting battle. And now it looks like Exertus will be moving on to take on Logic's EV BF4 from Germany. So that should be quite
a very interesting game.
That should be a very good game to watch. Now, obviously, you've got the likes of Vination Esports in there and eBash BF4. Those guys are going to take on Leisure BF4 as well. And there's Naturally Aspirated versus Team Pyrogen. And that looks to be... oh, goodness me. Where the hell are they from? Let's just check. Yeah, flags. Doing my head in. Obviously up against the French, and then obviously European teams as well in there, and so many good teams. And you can have Jean Vuk versus Team Print Speed DE. So that should be an interesting game. They're into the next round from what I can see. They beat Team Next Gaming as far as we can see. And we should be moving on, and obviously... While our colleague here, you can see the free ones took on Seth, I believe, from Portugal maybe, and they've now moved on to take on Vanity, I believe Norwegians there. So that'll be Europeans versus Norwegians. That should be quite interesting. Enigma Gaming and Frontline Gaming BF4 in there as well. There's so many teams going on here as well. This is going to be absolute fun. And we've still, obviously, And there's obviously a team up the top here that's called Epsilon.razer, which we obviously know nothing about. So we're now looking at Offensive Gaming and Royal Gaming. Obviously, those two guys will then move on and take on Epsilon.razer in the next round. So the winner of that, and you've obviously got Team Frostbite up against Wolfpack, which should be an interesting battle, as I know for a fact that... oh, that's a great name, the Frogs of War. That's fantastic. I love that.
I'm
And
interested to see a lot of the old school names popping in. So anyone who hasn't been involved in the BF community before, I'll pick out a few of the old school teams. So obviously Epsilon are one of the more recent additions, but one of the more dominant teams. But Epsilon back in BF2 started long ago. It did it started to do very well near the end of the game, and obviously that transferred over very much into Bad Company 2, and obviously dominating in BF3. So they're going to be the ones to watch in this. But we also have Team Wilder, who are a very, very, very old BF team, back all the way from 42. But they unfortunately do not look like they are going very far in this competition, as they've already been knocked out. Obviously, Team Dignitas, which has been around since 42. You also have Eyeballers, which is playing Team Empire right now. That'll be a very interesting game. I'm not very clued up on Team Empire's BF4 team, but the Team Empire name is obviously well renowned in Dota 2 and in other games. Moving down, obviously we just seen Exertus play, and they are a all UK lineup. That's going to be very interesting to see how they do. And obviously, Dignitas will be playing against All Authority, which is obviously two teams which have been around forever in the Battlefield community.
absolutely. Now, I also noticed a team in there, Isuba. Now, that's a team that I recognise from COD days. So I have seen them. Oh God, sorry, we're being spammed by idiots in chat. Oh dear, fun and games. Spam bots, you wonderful, wonderful people. So yeah,
Trying to get us the Epsilon game, but they are right now waiting on their opponents. So
okay, that's fine.
Have to find us another game.
So yeah, my apologies to those guys in chat. Sometimes, obviously, because bear in mind I am producing as well as casting and all the rest of it, and I am actually casting on two machines. So sometimes I take my eye away from the machine and I don't see the overlays on there. So my apologies. Also, thank you for the feedback. I will make the overlay, the black part of the overlay, a little bit more translucent, I think is the official term. So. There we go. We are just waiting for the confirmation, and we just, it's essentially, there's not really much we can do at the moment. It's just like sitting here waiting for something to happen. This is what's known as dead air filler. And, what can I say? There's not really much we can do at the moment. And we're just trying to find out and getting ready to go, and definitely a good display so far. The first match, obviously, a little bit one-sided. Would like to have seen a little bit more of an even matchup, but as we go up higher in the brackets, we're going to see some seriously intense games, wouldn't you think?
That would be the hope, but obviously this is a test cup, so a lot of these teams are probably finding their footing, as we all are, as this is a very new title, only been out since, the first, unless you are a lucky person and you're not from the UK, or you're in America, or you're in Korea, and you got it all before us. But yeah, we're all trying to find our footing and how this game really works. So a lot of teams might have a really rough start in these test cups, but go on to do very well in the near future.
Yeah, that's definitely the case, because obviously, like you're saying, it's a case of finding your feet, finding out how you... Because the thing I tend to find is that good strategy and good aim can carry over from one game to another. But what doesn't carry over is obviously game knowledge, map knowledge, things of those nature. And these are the things that actually people take time to bed in, get used to. And so you can't expect everybody to be all singing, all dancing right from the start. It's an unfortunate fact of life. But that said, some of these guys have been practicing absolutely insanely since the Battlefield 4 was released. So what can I say? We're looking forward to some fantastic matches. I, for one, cannot wait for every glorious moment.
There are players on Epsilon, Battlefield, and Eyeballers who have put in plus 40 hours already, and some of them are hitting already rank 45 and so on. And these are continuous domination and a few conquest games. I mean, these guys are going crazy to get ready for this tournament.
Okay, right. So, I am also just going to send you a quick link as, let's see, here we go. I'm just sending you some details in Skype.
Is it the ones I've just sent you?
Oh, God. Really?
Joining the Epsilon game.
Oh, are we? Excellent. Right. Well, there you go then. This should be interesting. So I shall join upon you, as that's the easiest way to do it, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, check details in Skype.
Here we go. What's this? Yeah. The trouble is, the problem that I have is the fact that Skype is running on the different machine from the actual battle log, which is running the games machine. So technically speaking, I have to follow you. So I click on the server that you've joined and then join off of you. So, fun and games. Right, so we just, once you've joined, if you can let me know once you're on there, and then obviously I shall join you on said server, and we shall be bringing you Team Epsilon. And who are they up against? Let's have a look.
They are up against Royal Gaming.
Royal Gaming, now they obviously must have taken down Offensive Gaming from the previous bracket. So if we have a quick look at the bracket information there, you can see there, Epsilon.razer. They obviously got a bye in the first round. On to the second round now, the round of 64. And Offensive Gaming taken down by Royal Gaming. And so this is the match that we're actually going to be commentating on. So, I'm just waiting for a certain co-caster to get on the server, and then I shall join him.
That's cool, because I'm trying to get on as well. You're going to have to bear with me until it actually lets me on.
Okay.
I seem to be stuck on constantly joining server.
Okay. So, as you can imagine, fantastic, wonderful technical problems that we all love. And yeah, what can I say? It's all part of remote coverage of competition. We love it. It's all part of the fun. I'm sure you guys out there have had plenty of experience with this kind of thing. I mean, when was the last time you ever went to a LAN and it all ran on time? I mean, you know, I can count LANs maybe on my hand where that's happened. So, you know, it's kind of becoming expected. Now, that's not to say that, for example, that the gamers out there are tardy or, you know, have no understanding of the concept of time. Invariably, what tends to happen because of all the technical aspects, you know, you have PC crash, you have all of a sudden you can't get on the server has to be rebooted, and all these kind of various factors that come into it and just generally make everybody's life an absolute bloody nightmare. But we will persist as we wish to bring you as much Battlefield 4 coverage as we can for this evening. Is that right, Dogbert?
Oh, indeed. I'm still trying to... yeah. I'm very looking forward to getting into the Epsilon game, though I seem to be hitting some issues here. Let's see. Yes. I'll try and find out why, but yeah. I really, really, really want to get into this game because I've been waiting to see Epsilon play since the game came out, and I seem to constantly be getting stopped at the last hurdle.
It could be that you don't have permissions to get onto the spectator mode because normally, invariably, what happens. Right, so if we just because I've just joined a server that I've just seen Valu going on to, and hopefully, if it's the right server, we can then just have a word with ESL Baz, who will be able to add us then to the permissions list for spectators. Because one of the things you can do on configuration, guys, is you can actually choose who can spectate your server. Yep, that's exactly what's happened. So if you want to send a message to Baz, just say, can we get added to official server number 1 type thing, and then we shall be able to get on and cover that battle between Epsilon Esports and Raw Gaming. So
I'm way ahead of you on that.
See what I mean? This is what you call efficiency. So, yep, that's all been taken care of. So what we're going to do is let me just quickly run that, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this opportunity to deafening with some music quite quickly. Be right back. And we are back after deafening you with our music, such as it is, obviously. So thank you for your patience, guys, as we obviously desperately try to fill dead air and obviously treading water as best we can. So thank you very much for remaining with us. Thank you for being patient, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage thus far. Comments are welcome in the chat. Obviously, you know, if you want to spam YouTube links and all that kind of stuff, then you will obviously be dealt with severely and most evilly, usually with a rather large ban hammer, as we enjoy ourselves generally, as we have a wonderful night of Battlefield 4. So, looking forward to the next match, as obviously Dogbert is in the background trying to sort out the various technical aspects of the servers to try and get us onto the server for the next match. So I'm interested to hear what you guys in chat think about the next battle that we will be planning to cover, which is obviously Royal Gaming versus Epsilon.razer. Now, obviously, for those of you who are not familiar with what's going on, let's see, it doesn't have any information with respect. First map will be Siege of Shanghai, and the second map will be Hainan Resort. So those are the two selections. Going to turn out to be quite interesting. Siege of Shanghai, I've seen Epsilon play on, and it wasn't so much domination as it was a test with Conquest Large, because we couldn't change the details on the server. Hainan Resort, I have not yet seen them play. It should be interesting to see how they turn out. And this should be an interesting game. Let's have a look to see what the Twitch chat is saying. Is there any way I could spectate just one side of the match? Now, the thing is, yes, there is. I can spectate just one side of the match, but I want to show balanced coverage. I want to show both sides of the battle. And it's not fair on just watching, like, for example, Epsilon, because you want to see what their enemy is doing, or what, you know, and you want to see what the other team is doing, because if for whatever reason they're able to turn it around, you need to know what they're doing, and then obviously that will then show, for example, how Epsilon Esports will then have to adapt to try and overcome that problem. So unfortunately, there is no way. I mean, obviously we don't have anything like Source TV that would enable you to access just one side of the match and then you could watch your favourite player. Unfortunately, we don't have that option. Do apologise. So we have to try and give you a balanced view of the match as best we possibly can, and we hope that that's exactly what we're doing. So that is the deal as far as I can see. Now, let's have a look. Right, okay, so it looks like my illustrious colleague has got onto the server.
I have indeed.
And I'm going to join.
Very, very looking forward to this game.
Okay.
We have all the Epsilon guys are in and waiting. They are just waiting for the German team to arrive.
Excellent, excellent. That's what we like to hear. So, okay. So we're just getting into the server now, really, and we are just waiting for the inevitable off, so to speak. And let's see. Now, let me just see if I can do this for you guys. Straw poll. Oh, Nelly! And we're off. And that's last... do you know if we're actually live or not?
I don't think they're going to be live.
No, with only 3 on one side, yeah.
I think that would be really unfair, considering a team like Epsilon really don't need that kind of...
Oh, you're such a slave to fair play, aren't you?
As the team is... All the Germans are now in, so I expect we have a restart very soon. I'm interested in seeing how this map is going to work in competitive play. And hopefully we'll get a more balanced game than we did before. But I must admit, with Epsilon's reputation, is the best way to put it when it comes to Battlefield, you would expect them to have a definite experience advantage.
Definitely. Definitely. Now, we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out. Now, what we're going to do is just going to cut you to a quick video. We'll tell you some more about the Zavod map. So, have a listen to this, guys. Deep in Russian territory, hidden away by a forest, lies an abandoned tank factory known as Zavod 311. First, we look at the Russian spawn on the far right-hand side of the map, a bunker complex with protection against fire and a short run to the first capture point. Capture Point A, a small complex of buildings with the capture point open between them. All 3 buildings surrounding the point look down upon it, with windows and doorways available to spring an ambush. Capture Point B, the second largest building of the main complex. This building has an open capture point, 2 stories and plenty of hiding places for players, along with a tunnel complex leading to other points. Capture Point C. The largest building on the map houses an open capture point, many footwells and hiding places, and 2 stories to make defence an easier option. Capture Point D. A very open flag, but cover is still possible in railway container trucks with closable doors. And finally, we look to the US spawn, which overlooks the main complex and is equal distance from their gimme capture point, D. Okay, well the good thing is obviously they've made complete liars out of me and we're moving actually onto Shanghai, so my apologies there. But never mind.
I was watching as the map changed. I'm like, oh god, completely caught out.
Oh, completely.
Do to tell you.
Completely foobarred. Yeah, unfortunately I had to mute your ass, but you know these things happen. But you know this.
Controlled by Epsilon. I think that's
yeah, that's what it is. So anyway, what we'll do is I'm just going to post up a straw poll. So, oh Jesus Christ, no I'm not. So I can't even do the straw poll properly. So. Yeah, it's... So the question is, who will win the first map, which is Shanghai? And that is, obviously, Epsilon or Royal Gaming. Now, obviously, what we'll do is we shall post a straw poll there for you. And you guys can make any kind of voting in chat. And we shall try and show that onto the screen so that you guys can see what's going on. So my apologies for the dead splash screen there, and we'll just move on to the countdown as I think they're ready to get underway. I think it's fair to say that we're ready to go.
We are indeed. I mean, I'm very interested to see how this map plays out. I think we're going to see a pretty much B and A hold. Yeah, a B and A hold will be... yeah, there was a bug there. They had to restart.
Oh dear.
Epsilon already started with a flag, which is definitely...
Interesting. Very interesting.
You're going to look very much a 2-flag hold, unless one team gets an absolute domination in a few... if one team manages to completely wipe out, then yeah, it's happening again.
Well, I suppose it's because of where they're spawned. So it's because they're actually within the burn area. Also, it looks like the Royal team there are within the burn area. So it actually means that they're actually capturing one of those points right from the start, which is making things rather interesting. Now, whether or not they decide to go that way.
Go with this or not, it will be interesting. Maybe Epsilon will be like, well, good luck with that. I guess they are going to go live with that now anyway, it looks. Yes, they are.
Okay, so Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, we are live with Epsilon and Royal. So, let's find out what's going on, as obviously you can now see that the Chinese team, who are obviously the Royals, and you can see there, obviously, YROZ and Commander Vent, the Unisex, Crips, Dirty Harry and Skill Boost. And in for Epsilon, you have Unfixed, Winghaven, Valu, Mort, and CREiZiZ. So, let's see how these guys are actually going to do things. Now, we're looking at Winghaven here over on one side of the main garage. You can see there a little bit of fire coming in, and yes, using the Ace 23 as you predicted earlier, Dogbert. And what's your analysis thus far of the situation?
Epsilon going pretty much to hold the scene B here, which is definitely what they wanted to do. They were caught out by one of the spawns right behind C. They managed to correct that now, but I think what you're going to see here is a C and B hold. At one point, Mort did try and make a move onto A, but he was caught out quite early. But now the ticket bleed is in Epsilon's favour, after originally being 2 flags down for the first minute of the game.
Okay.
It's how Epsilon now obviously are going to probably be holding the B and A. They're probably going to give up the C flag, but you can pretty much hold A and B from the road, and you can pretty much see both flag points from then on. They're going for a pretty much aggressive posture. Sitting outside of the B flag, they can peek into C quite easily, and right now they're just pretty much holding position with one roamer in case Unisex managed to push on to B successfully.
Now obviously what you're looking at here is a little bit of rooftop action going on with the Royal guys, and you can see Skill Boost up there as well, along with Commander Vent, and you can now see them trying to push a little bit of pressure down onto the B-bomb site. But I don't think... Oh, there we go. One of the... that was Unfixed taken down as he was trying to hide behind the metal crating, trying to obviously hold people off on that B-bomb site. And it looks like the B site is now being taken, and you can see Skill Boost and the team. But it looks like Mort and friends have now literally cycled round and have basically tried to cut them off at the pass, so to speak, and now they're getting in there to try and kill as many people as possible. Unisex Dirty Harry gets taken down, and the point becomes quickly recaptured by Epsilon. Dogbert.
As you can see there, they know pretty much what they need to do here. They only need to get 2 flags, they don't need to do anything else. They got caught out a little bit there, but they quickly recovered, and they managed to get their 5-man straight onto B and hold it. Now they're moving players back to just hold their C point, but really, I don't think you're going to see much more than this. I think whenever they feel that they're in a dominating position, they'll send an extra guy out to maybe threaten the uncaptured flag, as they're doing now with CREiZiZ. But right now, it's basically just finding out where the majority of the effort is coming from the Unisex team.
Right, okay, let's just see what's going on, as we're now obviously watching the CREiZiZ making his way over towards the C point. Now, as you can see here, it looks like they were trying to get a full bleed onto that point, and now as we follow Winghaven, who's now moving down in quite an aggressive position, looks like he's doing a little bit of rooftop dancing, and now you can see him making a quick attack onto Commander Vent. Now he makes his way across, and he's waiting to see what's going on. As you can see, looks like a quick lift run. There we go, poor Winghaven taken down from behind, very nasty indeed by YROZ. And now he's going to try and move into the point as Epsilon CREiZiZ nearby, takes down multiple members, but then gets taken down from behind. Very nasty indeed, but then fortunately, it looks like he's just been picked up by another member of Epsilon. And now it's looking like the points are being captured in short order. As you can see, CREiZiZ moving in towards the B-bomb site. So, looking pretty dominant here at the moment, I think it's fair to say. Although the tickets don't necessarily reflect that, would you say?
Well, the thing with Epsilon is they're getting a significant amount of the kills, but whenever their bleed is even against them, they generally overwhelm quite quickly and get the bleed back in their favour. If you're doing this time-wise, Epsilon's had the bleed in their favour for the majority of the game so far.
Okay, so that's the kind of thing that they're going to be looking to establish, is obviously, at least as long as they've got 1 or 2 of the flags at any one time, that's exactly the kind of bleed that they want. So we're going to follow in with Unfixed, who's now currently doing his best Joan of Arc impression, and is now sitting around the area of the B capture point, as looks like the bleed is now in favour of the Chinese team for the first time in this round. and it looks like that Epsilon are going to have to try and turn it around to try and get that bleed off of them and back onto the Chinese team. As we're now seeing, as you've got obviously Winghaven moving in towards one of the other points, taking pot shots at the enemy, popping nades over. He gets taken down from behind one of those random spawns yet again. And you're obviously following with Valu as he's also moving into the same area where Winghaven was generally sniffing around, and now might be in a position to try and capture that point. But the bleed is now being taken away as the B point is being captured here by the China team, and the C point is being captured at the same time by Epsilon. So looking interesting so far, wouldn't you say, Dogbert?
Yeah, I mean, what happened there? I mean, Epsilon here is going to hold on to the C point. I think it's very silly for Unisex to try and even bother trying to contest this right here, because they're bleeding a lot of their own deaths into this. But I was quite interested to see how Epsilon reacted to only having the B flag when Unisex had C and A. They split up to 2 sending to A and 2 going into C. Now this would be okay, but they were intercepted both times, caught into slugging matches, which they lost every single one of them, and ended up losing B as well. Only thing that saved them was a huge spawn onto C where they were able to overwhelm. But it was quite surprising to see Epsilon spread themselves out thin, going on the attack but not getting any single flag.
Okay, so now obviously we can see now that the Chinese team, which is obviously we're looking in as the Royals, they actually have 2 tickets in their favour, and we're looking at 96 tickets in favour of US and 110 for China. So it's again with the situation of Epsilon, they have the bleed against them, and I don't see them pushing forward in order to actually get those 2 points back. We can obviously see the Cryptleet on the left hand side here getting into a little bit of a running battle with his 416 with one of the enemy, and it looks like CREiZiZ was going in for a flank, but it looks like those 2 points are being well held by the Royal team, and Epsilon need to do something to get this bleed off them very quickly, Dogbert.
Epsilon are looking to group up here and push on to B. They're going to do this to try and suck as many of the opposing team to try and defend B, then to hope for either overwhelming them and capturing it, which they've just gone and done here, or they're hoping for a good spawn in a good position. This was really sloppy play by Unisex, where they should have had more people around B, but they started to move a bit more to their left onto the A flag, which wasn't really being threatened at all. It's exactly the opening Epsilon needed. They were in a sticky situation there, but they were able to overwhelm and control at B.
Now, when you're talking about map control and spawn control and things like flag and capture point control, what is the ideal situation that you are looking to have when you're having these kind of 5-on-5 infantry combats?
They really... It comes down to a lot of things. First of all, if you're in a position where your opponent has to come to you, then really you shouldn't be caught out. You want quick revives generally if you are able to do it, but you definitely just need to be able to be fluid, not to be stuck in a same position. You want to get around the back of them. I mean, you want to pick them off. You do not want to be predictable, because if you are, they know where you're going to come from. They're going to at least flank you, and if worse, just hold you there while the ticket bleed goes against you.
Now, obviously, what we're doing is we're watching the process of Epsilon recapturing the tickets. Now, you notice that the ticket numbers 71 to 67, it's now back in favour of Epsilon, and they can turn it around. Obviously, they've got those 2 flag capture points. Now you can see obviously what they've done is they looks like they've decided to split the forces. You've got Winghaven who's trying to defend that B point, but you've got Valu who's also floating between those 2 points. So he's floating between C and B. Unfortunately, he just got taken down by 3 members of the Royal team, now pushing up towards B, but it now means that the likes of CREiZiZ and Winghaven can then start pushing back against them, and it looks like you've got Mort up there as well, doing a little bit of roof topping, and hopefully they can get that capture point back again. But it looks like they've decided to cycle around and go towards the A point there, Dogbert. What's your thoughts on that?
They did a very good job there. They had been pressuring B significantly for a lot of this game. They got a pick on A, and then from then on, 2 members of Epsilon spawned straight on top of Unfixed and would manage to take A. And right now they're going to go for they're going for B as well, and they're going to take that. I mean, at this point, really, they just need to. The lead isn't significant. It's 63 to 45. If they manage to lose the bleed, at any point in this, it can switch very quickly. So they really need to just keep control, hold tight, and bleed out this game.
Yeah, now obviously we're looking at Mort, who's covering the B-bomb site, obviously working together with Valu, and then we've got Winghaven in there having a little bit of a battle with some of the additional enemies as they're coming through, and he's obviously picking and choosing when he takes his shots. Unfortunately, the guy got away from him, so we're watching him trying to cover that point. It looks like you have a couple of guys sniffing around that area. There we go, Winghaven taking down Y-Roz very quickly, and obviously seeing if he can get a second pick onto the enemy. There we go, goes out, and Winghaven takes a second guy down. So that was an attempted push there by the Royal team, shut down by a single defender. That was Epsilon Winghaven doing a good job and holding on to the A point there, Dogbert.
Winghaven basically just secured the victory on this round for Epsilon, managing to tie down two people, and not just tying them down, but he ended up killing them, holding them for a long enough time that that bleed is now irreversible for the Unisex team. And Epsilon will cruise to the first round victory in what is, to be honest, a harder side to win with.
Okay, so now obviously this is going to be interesting to see how things turn out for the second round, as things will change around. And there we have it. That is the first round on the board. 56 tickets in favour of Team Epsilon. So, an interesting first encounter. What's your thoughts generally on that actual battle? Because obviously one thing that people expect is that Epsilon will either always win or they always want Epsilon to lose. So, was that closer, do you think, than Epsilon would have liked, or do you think they were just getting used to how things are? What's your thoughts?
I think Epsilon are obviously a love-hate team in the Battlefield community. They started off very well. They got the flags that they wanted. They had the initial bleed for the first few minutes. But at one point, Unisex did manage to wrestle control, and a few failed pushes by Epsilon were shut down. But Epsilon managed, with their superior experience, to ride out the setbacks and managed to get a control back in the game. Winghaven obviously being very important in some critical positions, but they realised which flags they couldn't get, and they changed the position of their attack and maximised the numbers of players they had in the right place.
Okay, so that's what it's all about really at the end of the day, and we're just waiting to go on to the next round on this particular map. Obviously now China are going to start off with a flag because of that lovely little spawn point. Wonderful little spawn point that it is, as you can see. So obviously we're following the Epsilon guys. They're all in, ready to go, and the countdown timer has begun. Now, with only 56 tickets the difference, what are the Royal team going to have to do to try and turn this around, Dogbert?
I feel that what they need to do is get a hold of C and B. These are going to be the most critical flags. B is a very open one. They need to just get a hold of the game. They need to be able to set up a good line of defense and hold it. And that's going to be difficult because Epsilon are going to hold B and they're going to take A quite quickly. And the worst thing that can happen for Unisex here is they get stuck on holding C, and that is it.
Now, one thing I have noticed is that one of the first things that the Chinese team did was they lowered those barricades to make it more difficult for Epsilon to actually get into capture that C point, making obviously the defense slightly easier. But all it's going to take is a few explosions and they're in through to that C point. So let's find out from the tabletop how they're spreading out. Now, one thing I did notice as soon as the match began, you had a break, a 3-2 split of Epsilon. 3 went to the left, 2 went to the right. 1 remained behind to capture the B point, and the other guy moved up towards C. Is that the kind of standard layout you'd expect to see from a Battlefield 4 5v5 team? Oh, Unfixed just went flying.
The battle of B is going to be very critical here, but you see straight away from Epsilon, as soon as they look like they're about to be overwhelmed at B, they send CREiZiZ and Unfixed to go for C. So they realise they might have lost B quite early on, but they switched quickly, and the ticket bleed is only there for a split second before they manage to get the bleed back on their side.
Okay, so now let's find out. As you can see, pretty much, let's see who's left. Oh, it looks like Epsilon have lost a number. I think they've lost one of their guys. Yeah, that's not looking good. Now the question is whether or not they're going to pause it or whether or not they're going to have to try and deal with that as best they can as it's middle of the map. Do you reckon this is something that's going to really hurt Epsilon now? As it looks like, there we go, it's Winghaven who was lost. He is now rejoined. What kind of problems are caused to a 5v5 team by a drop out of a key player?
If this was Conquest, it would be severe, especially if it was someone who was a tanker or something else. In Domination, it's a setback, but not a massive one. It could be significantly worse. I mean, you might have to rotate players around a bit because certain players are defending certain areas, but seriously, it's not as bad as it could be in another game mode.
Right, so we are going to see what's going on as it looks like Valu takes down Dirty Harry. No more Unisex shopping for him as he's moving in towards the C point. So you've got Valu, who's now going to be going up against Skill Boost and Yroz, and he's trying to guard that corridor from the lift. There we go. Looks like he's taken down one. Now that's quite interesting to see. We watched Valu. He took down one, but he didn't stop to try and take down the other. Now, wonder why that is, Dogbert.
I think, actually, what I'm paying attention to is how Epsilon's reacting to the pushes here. I mean, Unisex just tried to make a push onto C, but they were shut down immediately by Too Easy. Obviously, luck of the spawns, they managed to get a guy onto B to hold the spawn, and now they're pushing onto Mort over at A, so now the bleed's back in them. But as I say, Epsilon immediately, as soon as they're about to lose a flag, they get 3 men straight onto B and capture that.
Now, I also noticed then that they just lost a member on the C point, and now you can see after they've captured that B point, they've immediately split their forces to try and push into that C point at the same time as you've got 2 additional guys making a push towards the A point. Now, Yroz is in there trying to defend them. Now, he's done a good job taking down Winghaven, and he's going to try and push the advantage onto Valu, but Valu gets a trade with him, and has, unfortunately, that's going to be a bit of a problem for Epsilon. They won't be able to move into that point, and that opportunity for them to take A may have been missed to them, but no, they've decided to push forward as they had a full bleed on them for a brief few seconds there. So fortunately, they literally all respawned as an entire team, went over to A to make sure that that was captured as quickly as possible, Dogbert.
It did indeed. They got a very nice spawn on top of A. Now, this is going to be interesting because you've got to realise that Epsilon are ahead 56 points here. So Unisex really need to get a good hold of this map. They need to get a good hold of 2 flags and bleed down Epsilon. They're not doing that. They're playing the game of musical flags, and they're not getting a good grip on the Epsilon team.
Now, looking at B, Cripsley is in there. He's obviously got his 416. And he's taking fire from the right. Now, that was strange because he took fire from the right but didn't actually seem to react to it. Now, whether or not that was a slight bug relating to observer mode.
Winghaven was directly in front of him. He was cornered on all sides there by Epsilon players.
Yeah, very nasty. It's that because what you're talking about there is essentially a good crossfire is essentially how you can take these guys down as quickly as possible. Skill Boost popping some nades out, and you can see them moving pretty heavily into C as Too Easy is now moving into C, back raging people left, right and centre. Dirty Harry gets cut to pieces. Too Easy doing a good job of taking down multiple members of the Royal team, and now they're going to be capturing that C point, and this could be a possibility of a full bleed, but no, Yroz has now moved into the A point, and they're in the process of trying to capture that. As let's see if we can find out what's going on with the Epsilon team, as you can now see them spreading their forces over. You've got guys guarding C, guys watching B, and you can see the majority of the forces just sneaking around. So they seem very comfortable not to go for A right now, because they know that they will have the advantage in the bleed as it stands at the moment once they get that C point. But it looks like any attempts are being shut down at the moment, Dogbert, as they're pushing into C.
Is indeed. I think this comes really just down to the superior experience of the Epsilon team. They know they've got a lead now. They're just extending it by fragging as much as they can. They don't really have to worry about too much on their flags right now. They're just being as aggressive as they can. They're not holding back. They're just chasing down the Unisex squad now. And yeah, I mean, the tickets from the last game was obviously 56 in favour of Epsilon, and it's fast coming down to the point where Unisex are not going to be able to win this map.
Right, now, one thing I do tend to notice is What, for your definition, makes a good Battlefield player? Now, obviously, we're not talking about Battlefield pubber. We're talking about a competitive player. What is it about these competitive players that gives them the edge over other players? What is it that, so for example, if you were out there looking for a team or something like that, what would you actually look for in a player? What are the abilities that you would focus on?
The ability to react quickly to a changing situation, which is something very critical, obviously, in infantry battlefield. But obviously, good teamwork, able to not go Rambo when when he is desperately needed to hold positions, but really good aim and good reactions, which is the cornerstone of every FPS player, from Fatality all the way to Too Easy, and all the way to anyone who's ever set foot in an FPS game. The only real difference in Battlefield is the spawning on each other, the queue, which obviously you've recently done a video on, which is a very important feature and something that's being used by both teams extensively. Now, you might not see it if you are not so experienced in the Battlefield competitive scene, but a lot of these players are pressing Q as soon as they even think they can see someone. This opens up a whole world of pain on that opponent, because he becomes visible to the opposing team once he is spotted. So the ability to cue someone who maybe have just literally run around a corner, you will know where he's going for a few seconds, which means you can either shoot through a wall and kill him, or more importantly, you can send someone to intercept him before he gets into a dangerous position.
Definitely. Now, obviously, we're just looking at a little bit of fire as Unfits gets taken down. Dirty Harry with a nice bit of fire, but he then gets shot in the back very quickly just as he was running past YROZ, and we're now watching YROZ as it looks like they're pushing down towards the A point. Now, I notice one of the main defenders of that A point seems to be Winghaven. He seems to be quite good at working by himself, holding up the team, and I say that, he just gets shot to death.
He got a bit unlucky there. I mean, he heard someone coming, he was looking in the right direction, but the only thing he didn't know that there was also someone else there waiting for him.
Yeah, that's always going to be the problem. That's when you're doing a solo defensive situation, that's always going to be the hard gig. Now, just noticing that they had an entire bleed onto the China team, but that didn't last long, as now you can see Mort and friends making their way towards that C point, popping out those nades. Now, that's interesting. I can see multiple nades going out. He just chucked out 3 nades. That means that they looks like they're actually using the mini nades, the little micros that enable them to throw it further distance. They don't do as much splash damage, but it enables you to actually carry 3 as opposed to a single one. So that's very interesting to see that being used in competitive play, Dogbert.
It'll be, well, we are in the Test Cup, so we are going to see a lot of things that we're going to be we might not have seen before. I mean, as I was saying before, Epsilon at one point had 3 flags, completely domination lockdown. Obviously, it didn't really matter for them at this point. They've obviously got a lead. They can sit back if they need to, but really they're just fragging for the fun of it right now. They're just showing that they are one of the most experienced FPS and BF teams in the scene right now.
Definitely. Now, you can hear the music in the background. There's more fire coming in from Winghaven. And, of course, Mort in there as well. You can see him pushing in, taking a little bit of, throwing a little bit of hot lead in the direction of the enemy. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Epsi take that round by 106 tickets. So that's a total, I guess, of, as he does his maths, 162. So, over the course of that particular map. So, according to the straw poll which we had in chat, yeah, pretty much, I think 85% of the viewers reckon Epsilon would take Shanghai, and they turned out to be correct. Now, obviously, the next one is Hainan Resort. Now, this is going to be interesting to see because, as you said previously, this is your favourite Battlefield map. Or Battlefield 4 map, I should say.
Is this Resort we will be playing?
I do believe so, according to the information from the match.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favourite maps.
All it needs now is elephants for you to be like doubly happy, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think we're too far off something like that happening. The elephant in the room right now is how dominant Epsilon seem to be against this team. Now, they did have a very shaky start in the first map. the ticket bleed was going against them, maybe 60-40% of the time, and there was a few times when they did push out in smaller numbers to try and take advantage of maybe that FPS advantage, but they were shut down quite a lot. So to be honest, I was quite surprised Epsilon even went down to 56 points on that first round. Maybe that's obviously them just getting used to it and getting the flow going, but obviously they kicked it up a notch in the second one by going 112. So, are we back on Shanghai again?
Yeah, they're. I guess they're sorting things out in that respect. So, I don't think they're actually playing it because they've got one man of the Royal is down, so they're obviously waiting for him to come back before they change it to Hainan Resort. But if you look at the detail on the actual match setup, you can see that basically the first map was Siege of Shanghai, second was Hainan Resort. So that's something that we've got to look forward to.
We do indeed. Obviously, guys, if you have never seen Domination before, it is very much like Conquest, but without vehicles, with a faster respawn, and it is an infantry-focused game. So you won't see any helicopters, you won't see any tanks. So keep that in mind when you're watching.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously, this is focused predominantly on the infantry, as Dogbert said. So, we're trying to keep this as fun, as enjoyable for you as possible. Your comments are, of course, very welcome in Twitch chat or in the chat that you're watching at this current moment. And it is more than oh god, it's Siege of Shanghai again. We are more than happy to take any feedback that you wish to give us. Now, obviously, my colleague also will be working on our next match after this one. So you can see, obviously, that Epsilon, if they win this entire match, will then move on to the third round and the round of 32. And you can see, obviously, that there's plenty of other teams still in there as we move over towards the brackets. As you can see, here are the brackets. Plenty of people in here. So many teams. You can see E-Wave going up against, they've taken on Team Wilder from BF4. And you can see they managed to actually take that successfully. So they're looking for the winners of Punchline versus Team Mistral. Two French teams opposing each other, taking on a German team after that. Should make things very interesting. Evolution Esports, currently having a bye, waiting for Omerta and Name, question mark, great name. Ready to go on that one. So you can see all these people. Enigma Gaming taking on Frontline Gaming as well. And so many more teams coming through. So at this current moment, E-Wave Cup are the first people to make it to the round of 32. And there's still all to play for. I mean, so many teams. Look at this sheer number of teams that are in here today. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we need for the Battlefield 4 competitive community and for the community as a whole, is the ability to work through any kind of bugs that the game has, any kind of bugs that the mode has, sort out which guns are acceptable, sort out which guns are unacceptable as per the ban list, etc, etc. So it looks like they've finally decided to change to Hainan Resort, and it's time to get your towel on the side of the beach there, Dogbert, as it's ready to get some sun.
Always got to get your towel down before, especially the Germans. It always seems to be the Germans that have their towels well before us. Us poor Brits have to deal with that as a constant reminder of their organisation skills.
Oh dear, there's nothing like a little bit of casual xenophobia, is there? But no, it's all kidding aside. But yeah, so it looks like that they're actually in the server at the moment. And we should be ready to go any second. So let's see as we move on and find out. As this is the second map, yeah, everybody's in. And we should be underway any second now. Dogbert, how do you think they're going to run this one?
I think it's pretty much going to be... both teams are going to go for their nearest flag. I think Royal is probably in the worst position here. They'll probably go for A and try and contest C. Both teams pretty much do the same thing. But it looks like Epsilon are the one who converge on C with the most men, which is probably what is the right idea on this map. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of feints and pushes to the least defended flags here. They're just going to find out where to pick. I mean, right now Epsilon have B and C, and they're going to hold this for... I think Yeah, you're not going to see much movement between B and C here. Not from Epsilon, at least. They're going to try and hold this for as long as they can.
Yeah,
It's
now,
Unisex that are going to be in the awkward position of being the ones who have to go on the offensive, but they've just done it in spectacular fashion.
So tell us more about this spectacular fashion that's just occurred. As I was just watching, let's look, Winghaven, there we go. Looks like he's capturing back the C point, and now the bleed is back onto the China team, Epsilon. As you can see, the conference room taken by the Chinese team, the bar obviously taken by the Chinese team. I would be surprised if you want to get into the bar first, and we're now looking at skill boost, as these guys are defending the bar with a vengeance. To be honest, who can blame them, Dogbert?
They are indeed. I'm just interested to see what Epsilon's strategy is. They're just trying to overwhelm them at A, but it looks like as soon as any of their guys who are getting picked off at A, they instead of respawning into the fight at A, they respawn over at B, where you have Winghaven and Bahalaja, or Reload as it used to be called, making their presence felt over on B. But Unisex response to this is perfect. They're threatening C while defending B. So they will hopefully end up with a bleed, but I'm saying that as CREiZiZ comes in to clean up.
Now we're
So you're seeing a very regular game here in Domination. I think it's what we're going to see from now on, which is pretty much trying to just hold the two flags, get the bleed going, and just hold tight.
Now, I tend to notice that you don't see a lot of these guys using the gimme, the available weapons. Oh, easy, unfortunately not seeing two enemy coming in from his 2 o'clock there, and then Winghaven also then being taken down. As you can see, those two guys pushing in towards the B bomb the B capture point. Now, they did have a full bleed onto the China team just then, and that's not going to go well well for the Royal team. As we're watching Commander Vent, he's back in the bar again, and currently in the process of trying to defend himself, and he's hiding behind the bar, popping out nades left, right and centre, and he's got to be very careful because there's obviously somebody moving in, tumbling up the stairs. There we go, another member of Epsilon moving up, and now you can see fire coming out as Yros tries to move downstairs to do a little bit of outflanking manoeuvre onto Epsilon. There we go, back rages into Epsilon, takes down one, takes down two, Mort, and then Valu taken down, Yros with a fantastic back rage onto that A point. That was a pretty clutch play there, and now they've got a full bleed by the Chinese team onto the US team. That was pretty important for them there, Dogbert.
I was watching that very few times. I actually managed to catch a good first-person mode, but that was brilliant. Completely caught two Epsilon guys with their pants down, but managed to clean it up when they were aware of his presence, which has now put them in a position that they really need. They need to just keep hold of two flags for a while. Epsilon reacted correctly, took B, and now they're going to be threatening C as soon as they can.
Now I can see that obviously out comes the revive from Mort. You can see him pushing in towards that point, trying to move round the side of the enemy. There we go, outflanking manoeuvre onto Dirty Harry from Mort, and now they're in a position to hold that flag, and it's looking like a pretty standard fare here. Now the trouble is obviously you've got Skill Boost and friends moving in to start putting pressure onto the B site, as it looks like you've obviously got Valu in there as well. Oh, look at that. Fuck. Oh, look at that. Beautiful stuff coming in for Valu. That attempt to push B there by the Royal team shut down very effectively by Valu, and he's trading fire with Dirty Harry and taking him down there. So that's good defensive work there by Valu. He managed to hold off an attempt to push by the Royal team into that B point, and now they have a full bleed onto the Chinese team, Dogbert.
They have managed to keep this full cap going for quite a significant amount of time, and they were behind on tickets, but not by very much. But this is now going to put Epsilon in a significant lead. More importantly, Epsilon seem to just be holding the building now, while Unisex are forced out near the pool area, and they're not really getting much their presence felt in the centre of the map. I think they're going to push on to A here and try and put a feeler out to B, but right now they are being outclassed.
Now, obviously,
as I say that, Winghaven gets taken straight from behind, and that is going to give Unisex the A flag.
Okay, now you can see obviously Mort popping out some of those med packs to try and keep himself alive. as Valu is moving down towards the C point to try and defend that, working together with his teammate Unfixed, as attempts there by the Royal team to push in towards the B. Oh, Dirty Harry gets taken down. Mort then moving in to try and finish off the enemy. There we go, firing through the bits and pieces in the hotel reception. So you can now see him moving into a nice outflanking manoeuvre. Possibly, I thought he was going to go for a flying knife there, but unfortunately Mort was unsuccessful. But yet again, more attempts to push in towards that B bomb site, or B capture point, being shut down very effectively by Epsilon. Digbut, whatever. Digbut, Dogbut, whatever, Bob. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
The full domination camp that Epsilon had, its presence is now completely felt. They are in the driving seat for this map. At this point, Unisex really need to completely wipe Epsilon and hold them for a significant amount of time. Unfortunately, they're playing the musical flag game, and more importantly, Epsilon are the ones dictating where it's happening.
Isn't that kind of, this is obviously the kind of strategy that applies to most kind of battles, is that you want the enemy to fight the battle on your terms, not on theirs. Now, obviously, that's pretty much standard fare, probably from Sun Tzu and the Art of War, but these are the kind of things that have been proven to work in pretty much every FPS game and strategy-related game that's out there. And obviously, as you've had a lot of exposure to that sort of thing, Dogbert, you've probably seen quite a bit of it.
I have indeed, but what I'm basically seeing in this game is a mix of very good FPS skills, very good experience, and just overall better map awareness. Epsilon really have been able to predict where Unisex are going to be in most cases. They haven't really been surprised except from in the odd case, but more importantly, they're just keeping a good hold of this flag, the control of the flags in this map. Yeah. I mean, the resort itself has pretty much always been in the hand of Epsilon, and it's been Unisex that have always been on the outskirts trying to come in. And as you see right now, they already have 2 flags, and that ticket bleed is already significant. You've got to remember they are already ahead by 162 from the previous round here. So Unisex either need to do something colossal and get a huge amount of kills and hold the domination for quite a while, or they will find themselves very soon to be out of this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously, that kind of requirement is a very tall order against a team with the experience of Epsilon. To be honest, you know, you wouldn't expect them to be able to do that against the likes of, you know, like Exertus or some of the bigger teams like, you know, Epsilon Esports and Dignitas. So they've got a very, very tall order to try and turn this around. And like you're saying, Epsilon are literally dictating how this map progresses. It is at their leisure. And let's find out what's going on. As you can see, the B point being held by China, and they're just content to hold the C and the A and to keep the pressure straight onto B, so at least these guys do not know what they're going for. So it looks like Mort is in on a little bit of a roaming, but it looks like, no, actually the Epsilon team has decided to go a little bit more aggressive. You've got Valu, who's trying to defend the point. Unfortunately, he's being cut down, so they're going to lose A, but at the same time as A is being captured, they're going to lose, B is going to be lost as well, and then C also is going to get captured as well. So Epsilon seem to be taking it very, not so much carefully, but deliberate, wouldn't you say, Dogbert?
They're in the driving seat here. At this point, they might be down 2 flags, but they'll rectify that quite quickly. I mean, it really comes down to, they know they've got a big lead here. They can be very aggressive. They can just come in. They can get the kills. They're confident enough in leaving flags undefended. They are very comfortable in their movement, and they, for most of the game, as I said, have controlled the resort, which means they're able to move to every flag very quickly. Meanwhile, Unisex are kind of second-guessing where Epsilon are going to be and are always taking the longest route, which is losing them time when they need to get a flag.
Yeah, now the thing is, obviously, you were seeing there from the spread of the Epsilon team members, you obviously had one guy who was guarding the car park, and you had another guy who was then moving out on the far right-hand side. And that's 106 tickets on Hainan in favour of Epsilon. So, the Royal team, not looking good right now.
No, and I think they had a good first round against Epsilon. And really, at that point, they could have been able to make something of it. But I think they're starting to second-guess themselves. They're starting to maybe panic about committing fully to an attack on a flag, and Epsilon are picking them off and pretty much just rolling them when it comes to one-on-one exchanges.
Definitely appears to be the case now. Obviously, we're going to be going on to the next round where the teams will be changed around. And it looks like the Royal team have lost one of their members. So obviously a few server restarts will be required before we move on to the final round for Hainan Resort. And then based on that, we shall have a look at the brackets, as obviously that will take, if Epsilon.razer, which we are expecting them to do, to take this this particular match, generally will then move on to the third round, the round of 32, and knocking on the door of the final 16. Now, also notice down the bottom, you can see Against All Authority versus Dignitas. Now, that's going to be interesting because obviously Dignitas, there's a team with a lot of history and generally known as a powerhouse, so it could end up that we could end up looking at some kind of Epsilon Dignitas final, which would be an interesting experience, wouldn't it?
It'd be lovely to see that happen. But obviously we got to quite see how that gets. But
there's still plenty to go. Plenty of
chances for a big upset from a less known team. But AAA going down almost 450 tickets is significant.
Yes, very much so. Now we move on to the new round, and you can see here it looks like Royal have gone pretty hardcore into that into the car park as fireworks. I hope that's a firework going off as an explosion. I am in Essex, so I can never tell. As now you can see Epsilon Mort, he's the person who is guarding the A point. As you can see, the Epsilon, there's Value in there as well, now taking down that particular point. So he's now one thing I do tend to notice about Value is that when he's capturing that point over by the sea, he then literally cycles around, goes round very wide to try and capture any people who are coming in from the spawn in towards the B bomb site. So very interesting play there by Value as poor old Too Easy gets taken down as he's trying to push in towards B, and now you can see the A point being captured by the Royal team. So it looks like Epsilon only have a single point at the moment. However, you can see Unfixed working together with his teammate pushing in towards that A bomb site. So there's Too Easy working together, and you can see him reviving one of his teammates, and now they're going to start pushing up very hard into that next point. And you can see now they've got the bleed on to the US team. Oh, sorry, onto the China team. So the bleed is not in favour of Epsilon at the moment. So interesting to see how this round's turning out thus far, Dogbert.
Is indeed. I think Epsilon maybe caught out a bit there at the beginning, and Unisex very aggressive coming in there and getting the flags. But at this point, Unisex really need to exert their dominance here. They need to start getting a bit more control, and they're just not managing to do it. They're just slowly but surely being whittled away by a more experienced and an all-round better team at the moment, but in Epsilon.
Yeah, sorry, just to let you guys know, apologies if for whatever reason the stream cut out. We just lost connection to Twitch. So my apologies for any of those guys out there who are watching and unfortunately lost connection. So we are still here, we are still broadcasting, and I apologise for any technical problems that you guys have had. However, we will continue as you can see now Epsilon and Too Easy who's guarding the A point, and now you can see obviously there's Unfixed who's taken Value's position over by the C point to try and stop the likes of Crips Leet who's moving down on the left side. Oh, it looks like he runs into Unfixed, but Unfixed turns and drills him in the head very quickly indeed. As now you can see Mort then moving in and spawning on his teammate Unfixed on the right hand side. They can now start pushing in towards that B bomb site, as you can notice also that Epsilon are now using 3 men to try and defend that A point, and you've obviously got Unfixed who can then float between the C point and the B point at the same time as Mort then moves in towards the A, or sorry, the B point. Doctor.
Indeed, I mean, really, it's trying to guess where that spawn is going to come in from. Because it's quite nasty if you got only maybe 2 or 1 man defending a flag, and then all of a sudden 3 people turn up behind you. That's quite a shock to the system. But right now, with Epsilon, they've got A and B. They can pretty much attack C if they ever feel threatened on any of those flags. And really, Epsilon are once again in the driving seat with 170 to 140, sorry.
Okay,
And
well,
as you see there, as soon as they thought they were in trouble with the other flags, Winghaven instantly jumps down into C and captures that immediately for Epsilon.
indeed. Now, my apologies, guys. Yeah, technical problems relating to the stream. We are back up and running. Thank you for your patience. We appreciate it. And now you can see attempt there by the Royal team to push into B again. Got shut down very quickly by Unfixed and Mort. So you can see now Mort working together. Where Unfixed working. Now, one thing you did notice there, that's he didn't actually go for the revive until he actually knew that the area was clear, because you don't want to take the chance of leaving himself open to getting killed and possibly changing the state of the game in somebody else's favour. So, smart play there by Unfixed, obviously, sign of a good player. And now you can see the C point being marked, and there we go, parachuters coming in from the roof. That was very interesting. Did you notice that the Royal team decided to use the lift, go up to the top of the hotel, and then try and parachute down onto the C point, coming in from a direction that the Epsilon team did not expect, Dogbert?
I'm quite surprised. I thought the roof would play a lot more significant part in this game, but I've been proven wrong. But it usually seems to be best to stay mainly inside the resort. But I figured the roof would be very significant with being able to drop down onto either A, B, or C quite quickly. But I guess I've been proved wrong in my prediction of that.
Apparently so, yeah. Now, obviously, we're looking at the bleed at the moment. The US team has the bleed on them. They're down to 86, 87, 80... and look at that, there's a full bleed. That is a total and utter bleed. Now, notice what you can see Epsilon doing. They are looking to spawn lock these guys. So you can see, obviously, Value and Too Easy holding the B site. Mort, who's just got taken down, so it looks like the A point will now be a weak area. So that you can see now Too Easy starting to move towards that general direction. Mort has respawned, and now they're looking to hold that point with Unfixed guarding one of the flanks, and they're looking to spawn knock these guys down. And 162 tickets to 65 with a full total bleed onto the opposing team. This is not looking good for Royal.
No, and I think at this point in the game, it's Epsilon just exploiting their initial advantages and now just really holding on to that full domination. I think both teams now just really kind of playing for the fun of it. I'm hoping after this game to be able to get Dignitas as our next matchup for tonight.
That would be very interesting to see. Very interesting indeed. Okay, so, oh dear. It looks like Too Easy is slid to a halt by one of the barriers as he's pushing in towards the A site. So now you can see that's Mort moving in, and he is trying to take that point. And so, yeah, what a surprise. Mort's in the bar. Get out of the bar, Mort. God's sake. So you can now see him as he's in there doing his thing, as you can now watch as other members of Epsilon are moving up. And you can see there the bleed on C is being taken off, and there we go, now has been reapplied, and the full bleed is back on. And then if you look at the overlay, you can see Epsilon spread its numbers all across the front. You can see, yeah, these guys are getting ultra aggressive. Falu going in very aggressively, almost getting into the swimming pool and having a paddle. But looks like, unfortunately, the attempts there, Mort was shut down as he was defending A, and now Too Easy is moving up onto the A point, popping nades in there to try and take them down. Looks like a couple of nice hits there, and now you can see him moving in as Too Easy, and you've got Winghaven popping up the nades as well, as they are absolutely demolishing this bar. These guys are no respecter of property, and now you can see them moving in, taking that point at the same time as the C point is then being attacked by Valu, who's in there trying to do his thing, popping out the nades, going for multiple kills. Out comes the pistol, goes into Commander Vent. Oh, lovely triple kill there by Valu, and he's in the position to reapply the bleed and capture that point back. So looking pretty good as far as he is concerned there, Dogbert.
Is indeed, and Epsilon here obviously just exerting their superior knowledge of the game and previous abilities, and have just shown themselves to be a very strong team. I mean, that is a large score there. Was that 153?
Yep, 153 on that particular round.
On top of a already
106.
268
Yeah.
from the previous games.
It was 106 in the previous round. So, yeah, obviously that's pretty...
421.
Wow. That's a pretty serious amount of ticketing going on there. So, there you go. That has been Epsilon. They move on to the next round. And we shall be picking up, hopefully, the next match very shortly. And in the meantime, what do you think about that? That was quite an interesting display. I was obviously, you know, at the start with it looked like Epsilon were a little bit slow to sort of, you know, build up steam maybe. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Or do you think it was a case of they were just sort of probing the defences to see how things worked out?
I think really, except from the first map, Epsilon were totally in control of that. They knew what they had to do. They knew the map probably, but I think Resort might have been their map. They just seem to have complete control from the start to the finish on that map. On the first map, not so much. They really did struggle, but after a few initial setbacks, they regained the advantage and held on very well. I'm very impressed by the Epsilon team. I think they are going to be definitely the one to watch in this tournament.
Okay, now let's see if we can find out what's going on with the brackets, because obviously we're just waiting to move on to the next match, which I do believe I shall be following in my colleague Monsieur Dogbut, and moving on to the next match. And let's just double check. I see no movements of Dogbut, so we'll have to hold on. Give me a shout when you're in the server, Dogbut, and I'll join off you. So there we go. That's going to be interesting because Team Frostbite Artisan BF4 beat Wolfpack to actually get into a situation where they will be taking on Epsilon.razer. Now, for those of you who don't know, Frostbite is the team that our esteemed ESL head admin is actually a member of. So whether or not he'll be playing, that'll be rather interesting as he goes up against Epsilon. So it should be interesting to see that. Now, what we're going to do, bring you more brackets. You can see Isuba beat the Red Army team, and now you can see they're going up against the 56k Sports Amateur, which is a great name, by the way. And you can see their Xylence has beaten the German Wolves and moves on to it's a Russian team, I do believe it is, based on that flag. I could be wrong. Apologies if that is the case. And they now move on to the third round, waiting for the results of Team WD. I assume that's Western Digital, I don't know, and Team TBA. And you can see, there we go, UMAV took on Prototype Esports and beat them to move on to the third round. So UMAV will be taking on the results of Fura and the Infamous Bastards. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. And Team Mistral and Punchline still haven't played their map, but they will be taking on E-Wave Cup. So you can see also the free ones beat Vanity and are into the third round. Ultimate Esports beating Rustbat Origins, as you can see, and obviously Team Hans versus June Vuk, possibly. I don't know. I won't even ask what they're how that's supposed to be pronounced. And you can see Brutality Core beat 56k Sports, and there obviously there's another Team Frostbite, Antlion. Yeah, I don't even know. Way too confusing. So you can see here.
Managed to join the game yet, mate?
No, not yet, because I didn't see you actually in the game yet. So
yes,
there you
I
are.
have joined.
Right, give me a second. I'm just going to remind myself of the information off of your doodah, and so I can get the. Yeah, here we go.
Tell me when you're in and ready to go, because I'll go and tell our guys to start.
Right.
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, so there we go. We're hopping onto that server now, and we are getting ready to sort things out, and we should be underway with Dignitas versus Against All Authority. French team by the looks of it. And for those of you who are not aware, that Team Dignitas, the 6 Fins were picked up by Team Dignitas, so X6 Fins, now Dignitas BF4, going up against All Authority. And obviously, for those of you who are familiar with 6 Fins, these guys are a serious powerhouse. They don't mess around. So we're just waiting to see what's going on as we're joining the server now, and we're just waiting to get underway and do that kind of fun. Yeah, sorry, Too Easy. The stream is lagging. There's not really much I can do about it. It's not dropping any frames, but it is lagging pretty hard at the moment.
Are you ready to go, mate?
Yeah, just logged into the server now, mate, and I'm ready to go. Unfortunately, it looks like the stream is lagging a bit, and I don't know why. There's nothing really I can actually do to stop that. It's outside of my control, I'm afraid, boys and girls. Obviously, we will continue regardless. And as far as I can see, there are no dropped frames. Stuff is being encoded. Yeah, nothing's been dropped. Stuff is still being transferred. So hopefully things are going okay. And we are underway any second now, Mr. Dogbert.
I don't know if you're watching this, but they're all dancing around a flag. They're just, oh my god, I don't know what is going on now.
Oh dear.
So maybe we can't get TeamSpeak, see if the audio maybe fixes itself.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I sound okay, but I can. Yeah, I'll try and do that in a second. Let me just go back to the splash screen while these guys are all dancing around, and I'm just going to reconnect to TeamSpeak. So we'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. We are still obviously broadcasting, and I shall return very quickly.
Disconnected.
Yes, shut up. Switch that woman off because she's very annoying. Okay, so let's just see. Let's go back into here and then into here.
Connected.
And then, oh god damn it, you woman! I switched you off already. That's another thing that annoys me, is it just doesn't turn itself off when I tell it to. Anyway, I have returned. I hopefully am not lagging as bad as I was earlier.
Oh, I can hear you a lot better now. And they are going to go live any second now.
Excellent. This is good news. Good news indeed.
I really wish you could type to the guys from Spectator. I'm quite surprised you can't.
Yeah, it is very annoying.
We're going to go live now by the looks of it. Yes, they are. I've just told them in Skype.
Okay, so this should be interesting to see. This is Golmud Railway, and obviously it's going to be a fight in the main village. The countdown has begun, so obviously we'll just make some notes here. As this should be an interesting battle. What are you looking forward to seeing here, Dogbert?
There is a very powerful sniper rifle spawned between the two houses, kind of a bit far off C and A, which is literally a one-shot, one-kill weapon. It's like a railgun. It's really powerful. I'm interested to see if that gets picked up at all in this game. But right now, I think it's pretty much going to be the standard teams trying to get a hold on two flags and then make their way from there. Dignitas obviously picking up two flags quickest because they were closer to them.
Yeah, now obviously you can see those two tickets being picked up. Now, that's interesting to see. I just saw somebody, member of the Chinese team, I think that was using a tugs sensor. That's interesting.
Yes,
Haven't seen that before.
The first time it's been put down in this game. I was interested to see when something out of the ordinary would happen, and it seems to have been that one. Right now, for Rock, it seems to be a good little setup here. They've got two flags, and they're contesting C enough to stop Dig even getting a hold in there. So this is really, really good at the beginning for Rock. I mean, they've got some very old-school players in this lineup. Corey Yu is one of them, who was in your Beta Cup, if I remember rightly. So they are off to a dominating start here against Dignitas.
Yeah, I thought I recognised some of those names, like Bite Me Yao as well. And yeah, these guys are doing good. Now, the thing is, obviously, I noticed it was, is it Valu or Walu, who was the sniper of choice. Now, obviously, he's out there, but he's obviously a sniper in with a carbine. Not anymore, as he just gets shot in the back. As now we can see, let's see, obviously, China is the Dignitas team. And they have the more tickets at the moment because obviously you can see the tickets here. The B point now being recaptured. So you can see Rock moving in there. There's Akosh and David 2K6 and Core EU moving up on the right hand side, and you can see him therefore moving slowly in towards the next point, peeking those corners, making sure that nobody's in the position to take him out. So far this is looking pretty interesting thus far. Rock acquitting themselves pretty well against the former Finnish powerhouse, now Dignitas BF4.
Obviously, Six Spins picked up just before ESL announced their big tournament. Obviously, they're taking the dominating lead now. They have the 3 flags and they have a ticket bleed. It'll be interesting to see how Rock are going to react to this. Now, they seem to be concentrating majority of their energy into going for C here, but it's how they go around the side. They need to get to the other flags. They need to start being more fluid. Dignitas can play this trading game all day, but they have the lead, so they can. Rock, on the other hand, need to be able to get a hold and at least grey out a flag, which is what they're doing over in A, and that's David 2K6.
Now,
with the important capture there.
Of course. Now, obviously, we're watching David. He's moving out. And you can see he's taken down Corey Yu, but also there's 2 members over by Core, and he's trying to spray a little bit of fire down onto them and trying to take a defensive position to see if he can actually hold that flag. So David 2K6 overlooking that area, Bite Me moving over to make sure that those members of Dignitas are now dead, just to make sure that they don't get any kind of revive train going. And
but Masu there came in and basically just took B for Dignitas by going 2-on-1 and taking them all out. Dignitas here holding on to C and B, which seem to be their go-to flags, and seem to be just absolutely overwhelming Rock here in the initial stages of the game.
Yeah, it looks that way now. Obviously, we're watching Masu at the moment. He's over on the right-hand side. He's looking over towards the likes of where Horek is at the moment. Now, he's just got taken down in the window, so there's Valu taken down, and Akosh also in that area. But it's interesting to notice that they haven't actually noticed that spawn beacon, because they haven't actually been able to get in there and survive for long enough to actually focus their attention and take it down. So do you think then that the not the spawn beacon but the tug sensor is actually giving the Dignitas team an advantage?
Only time will tell, but I think it's definitely helping them when they can end up spotting any movement onto a flag that they're definitely holding as a linchpin in their defences here. Obviously, I think it just went down there. It was taken out by David, who seems to be always in the right place at the right time when I'm looking. But as soon as they move into a flag, Dignitas None here is instantly on C and capturing it here. There's going to be a 2-on-2 firefight here, which Rock will probably win. Yes, they do indeed. So they capture C, but while this is going on, Dignitas still have 2 flags. They can play this game. They've got the ticket bleed going, and they can do this all day. It's Rock at this point. Really need to get a hold of a flag and hold it for a while. They need to get the tickets back up to their level, back up to make it even.
Yeah, that definitely appears to be the case. Now, obviously, you've got Bite Me Ya who's trying to defend. As there goes Valu, taken down by a high explosive.
Out 2 here.
Yeah,
Very
that was
well played there.
That's Akosh there doing a good job. Oh, grenades all over the place. There seems to be a lot of explosions going on around that B capture point at the moment. As we're watching Henker as he's moving in towards that next point. A little bit of off the hip fire. And let's just see as he's then taken down very quickly as he's trying to defend that B point. As fortunately Dignitas Nure comes in and he is in a position to hold that flag. Or hold that point, and now you can see him moving out of the way. He's down a little bit low on health, but now you can see Dignitas, now they've got these 2 flags, they're healing up, and they're getting ready to move in on that final point. But Rock Horek takes down one of the Dignitas team members, and he's looking for the enemies, and then unfortunately spies him a little bit too late and gets taken out. So now you can see Bite Me Ya. Oh, Bite Me Ya going clutch, taking down a couple of members of Dignitas there over by one of the nearby the A-bomb site. But unfortunately, he's not in a position to help anybody, as now he's just spraying down fire onto the Dignitas team, who are pushing in towards the A-bomb site. That's Masu, now looking to get a full bleed onto that point. But unfortunately for them, you can see Rock Akosh, and also you can see Horek, I think it is, David 2K6 now moving in to try and take that point away from the Dignitas team.
Very important thing just happened over at A. This is exactly what they need. Corey Yu came in as Dignitas were trying to capture A. He managed to pick them off, and he just took out another 2 people from Dignitas. This pretty much means they hold A and C. This is what they've needed from the beginning of the game. Now, how long can they hold this bleed up? We don't know. But for the first time in the game, Core have a kind of stabilized front line here. But it's A where it's going to be the hammer is being dropped by Dignitas, and how is Core going to react with only David 2K and himself being there to defend?
Yeah, as you can see, obviously, Nuri being taken down. There's Corey Yu moving in. He gets finished off, but David 2K6 is also in there as well. He's trying to sneak in a little bit of a cap, but got shut down very quickly. Now, the trouble is, obviously, you've got the random respawn for Henker. That's turned out pretty well. You can see Masu spawning on him, and now Akosh is trying to move in and try and take that point back, because now the bleed will not be in their favour, so they need to get back in there as quickly as possible, which is what they're doing. A little bit of spam coming in. There we go, takes them down, and it looks like that point has then been taken, and now they're trying to get out of the way of those grenade explosions as they are coming in from all directions, as the bleed is now back onto the Russian team. Not looking good for Rock at the moment. Dignitas essentially playing their game.
What happened over at A was very important. Two men were managed to hold a 5-man from Dig for a significant amount of time. Now, they eventually lost that fight at A, but they managed to bleed out Dignitas quite a little while that was going on. It basically, at this point now, Dignitas have such a lead, but as long as they can just contest one flag and hold another, they will probably take this round.
Okay.
It was interesting that Tog Sunset was down in one of the more central houses in the game. Obviously, now with that being out of the way, the house is up for grabs by either side. It caught Valo out quite badly when he was up there before. He was defending B successfully until he got caught in the rear. Without that sensor, it's very difficult to hold that flag.
Very much so. Very much so indeed. Now you can see obviously the Rock team moving into that B site, and now you can see them trying to get a full bleed if possible, but unfortunately for them, Masu is over by one of the other points. He is in the process of recapturing that, and so it looks like the attempt there by the Rock team to push in towards that B bomb site got completely and utterly cut to pieces. Not looking good for them. David 2K6 moving in, and it's not looking good for them. The Rock team, essentially, that was their last attempt at a serious push into the B bomb site, and they were effectively shut down by Dignitas.
At this point, they really just need to bring the tickets down as low as they can. It's all to play for. It's all about making sure that next round they can get a kind of lead like Dignitas had, and they can do it. I mean, right now, we're only talking about 99 tickets. If they can do that next round, then that's all that matters. And I'm sure they're going to bring that down again soon. It is a very good possibility here that Rock could keep the bleed going.
Yeah.
It all depends on if Dignitas gets sloppy here in trying this in this cleanup. They know they're ahead, but they can't be sloppy and just give away flags here. They only have one flag right now, and the bleed is against them. Do they get messy, or do they get this serious and try and finish up this round in a dominating fashion?
Well, that's the question. It's going to be interesting to see what's going on as we're looking at the... Here we go. Looks like the Rock Akash is capturing that final point, and there's going to be a full bleed onto the China team. This is not really what Dignitas are looking for. However, they looks like they might go into force, which is exactly what they've done, into the C point. So you can see Valu there moving in and popping out the nades. Down goes the Tugs. He's a Tugs life, and now we're on to the next point. As you can see, the B point now being pushed in. You notice that Dignitas are actually moving more of a cohesive group into the B bomb site than they previously did.
They got sloppy at the end there. They thought the game was over. They thought they had it. And Rock made them pay by over 40 tickets, almost. I mean, that is serious good play by Rock and really sloppy by Dig. But they managed to get the hold of the flag here right now. And I think that is pretty much round one to Dig, but with not as many tickets as they possibly could have had.
Now, obviously, that's the thing is, it means then that the Team Rock is actually closer to Dignitas than they actually would have liked, or say, well, that they were maybe expecting, and that makes things a little bit more difficult as far as Dignitas are concerned. They're going to have to come out with an extremely dominant display in the next round to ensure that they actually get round that deficit the advantage of 62 tickets. It's going to be interesting to see how things turn out, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. They had a significant lead there, and I think really maybe the spawns weren't quite in their favour, but really they should have shut that out with at least 90 to 100 tickets. Rock didn't give up. They didn't give up hope. They knew what they had to do. They knew they had to bring that ticket difference down, and they did it in spectacular fashion. I think some clutch plays near the end of the game from both Core and Baitya bite me, yeah. Managing to take out Dignitas in 2v1s in multiple occasions, but in critical locations. Obviously, there's a lot of high scoring on the dig side here, and they were generally more effective in a group. But yeah, sloppy play at the end. But other than that, Dignitas dominated majority of that game.
Okay, so we're obviously on to the next round. We'll have to wait and see what happens. As obviously, let's just check the bracket and find out what the next map is, or what maps have been chosen as part of this matchup. Now, for those of you who are suffering lag on the stream, I do apologise, guys. It seems that my internet connection might be crapping out. I can't even actually load a browser window at the moment. Oh, God. No, I'm not on them. Okay, right, so... Hainan Resort, apparently. But I could be wrong. No, that's a status closed. We're on to the next one, I guess. It just hasn't updated. So anyway, we're on to the next round, Dogbert. How are you seeing them going this time?
This map is, once again, Dig are holding C and B, which was what they were doing in the last game. They have put another sensor right down the middle of the map. Now, I don't know how much of that is an actual big tactic, but either way, they are doing it quite a lot, and it seems to be a part of their strategy early on. But Dig are doing their usual. Whenever they are losing a flag, they switch position and try and attack the undefended flag. How Rock are defending? They're doing quite well. They managed to shut down Dig's push onto A here. But by doing that, they lost attack on C. So Dig are they're picking their battles and they're winning them. And that's really, really good for Dignitas early on, considering they're already on a lead of 62 points. And once again, they are in the lead with 193 to 171. Dignitas right now really just have to keep control of the map. Keep this defense line, keep the C and B on their side, keep the bleed going, and it's Rocket really has to pull something out the bag here.
Yeah, looking away at the moment, as you can see, Value making his way around towards one of the back flags. Try and make sure that the area is relatively secure. Now you can see Nure moving in towards the next point, and they're going to be trying to capture that point, possibly getting a full bleed, but it looks like they're not going to get it, as Bite Me Ya from Rock is moving in, and looks like they're going to be capturing that point, as we're watching him as he's trying to defend that C point, recently being captured, revives one of his teammates and now moves out. So we're waiting to see what's going on as the B point just started flashing. There we go, the Rock has now started to, the Rock team has started to try and pull that point, as we're watching CREiZiZ getting into a battle with Dignitas Nure, and CREiZiZ fortunately is still alive as far as we can see, and he is still sniffing around that area around B, but it looks like the Dignitas team have decided to go pretty hardcore for C point and ensure its capture, and now try and get that bleed off as they're now pushing and contesting for point B. Dogbert.
Dignitas here, their go-to flags are C and B. They contest B whenever it looks like they might be in trouble, hoping to bait as many of the Rock players to kind of defend A. When they do this, they instantly make sure that they never overcommit to one flag. Obviously, that they didn't quite manage to take B there, but that is their general strategy. Never overcommit and try and let Rock make the mistake of putting too many people in the wrong place. And I think that the sensor has gone down for the third time in this competitive game of BF4. I'm waiting to see if this is actually going to become a useful strategy in the future.
Nure unfortunately being taken down by a grenade thrown by CREiZiZ as he's now moving over towards the A bomb capture point, and now you can see him as he is moving towards that point and looking to try and capture it. There we go, taking down one of the members of Dignitas as he then moves in to try and get additional cover as he's trying to go for a quick revive on one of his teammates, and something's just happened to the server.
There was a quick move.
I just got dumped off the server.
Oh, okay, well, I'll tell you what's going on. I will shoutcast old style here. Over on A, Dignitas had 2 people. They went up against 4 and managed to only get 2, but they were shut out quite quickly. Dignitas used that lull to capture C and then pushed on to B. Right now, Dignitas are well ahead, only ahead by about 10 tickets, and that is coming down quickly. Rock now have got a full cat. All 3 flags are in their hand. Dignitas are pushing on to C, but Rock are the ones who have a significant amount of flags, and soon they will go ahead in the ticket lead via a very mid-game bleed on Dignitas. Dignitas now look like they're probably going to make a push on to B, but they aren't. But it looks like Rock are anticipating a push on A and not really sending enough to B to defend it, which is probably a mistake, as Dignitas right now know that they only have to get 1 more flag, and they do that and they capture B by overwhelming force. Majority of Rock was still hanging around A, expecting a push there, or at least maybe a scout out. By doing the same, but they're now going to try and do that to the Dignitas side. They know they're clustered around B, so they're probably going to try and make a push over to C. But meanwhile, Null is just taking Rock players for a stroll and dumping them in the trash can.
Right, well, I'm back on the server, but I keep losing connection to Twitch because Twitch is a wonderful system which I love deeply. So my apologies to those people who are trying to watch. And because of the technical problems that we've been experiencing, I'm starting to get a little bit miffed. But never mind, these things happen. You are obviously listening to the Battlefield 4 5v5 Domination Test Cup with Dignitas and Team Rock going up against each other. And he's been casted by, of course, myself and Mr. Dogbert. So, as you can see, we're back in the map again, and now you can see, look at those tickets, how close they are. What's been going on? This is quite a bit of a turnaround as far as I can see, Dogbert.
It is indeed. At first, Dignitas had pretty much been in the driving seat for the first few minutes of the game. They were managing to hold on to C and B and doing a very, very good job of it. But what's happened now is Rock have started to they realise they need to pick up the game. Dignitas is 62 points ahead, remember, from the previous round. So Rock really need to keep control for as long as they can. They need to just hold 2 flags and get the bleed. If they can do that for long enough, Dignitas will lose this round and go into the next map. But right now, Rock is still holding on to their 2 flags. Dig are all over C, but now it's a rush back to B to defend, where Dignitas have constantly been making their presence felt, but not always succeeding in the flag capture.
Now we're looking at Massa at the moment. He gets taken down from behind as it looks like we're also watching Giggly. Oh God, I don't even know how I'm going to pronounce that. We just call him Giggly. It's much easier in that respect. So we're looking at David 2K6. He's now also moving in towards that B point to try and ensure that it stays on the side of the Chinese. Now it looks like, oh, this is interesting to see. It looks like now you've got a lot of pushing going on as we're looking like a complete wipe there by Team Dignitas. And now they're going to try and get that C point back. They literally had a full burn on them just for a second. And now it's looking like the Rock team doing a fantastic job of holding those 2 points and going quite aggressively.
But they are completely out of position here on this B flag. Dignitas are going to be able to capture 2 flags here, in fact, very quick. As I say that, it looks like 4 people for Rock have turned up on the point, but it's still now in the hands of Dignitas. Now, it's how Dignitas redeploy to hold or defend C or B. Do they get aggressive and go for A as well, or do they just hold on to B and C? Masu there really just shut down Horek as he came into C, and this is pretty much now Dignitas trying to regain the lead and just bring it to a close.
Yeah, now you can see obviously 90 tickets to 78. You can see now Dignitas Masu trying to defend that C point as you've got multiple members of the Rock moving into that point. Horek at the moment, as I need to pause the cough. Now moving in, Malu being taken down by Horek. Jesus Christ, I'm coughing my guts up. Can you take over a second, please, Dogbert?
Yeah, no problem, mate. Massive there just cleaned up at the C point, and Dignitas are going to take over in the ticket lead once again. While Rock came in to attack C and B, Nonna was there to shut him out of B, and the other 4 members that came in at C were slowly but surely picked off and destroyed by Dignitas. When they respawned, they managed to get over to A, but Dignitas, in the meantime, had fighting over B and C, had captured A to get a full domination cap. That put their ticket lead way above Rock. And at this point now, Rock are about to lose this map. They've already lost it in tickets, so at this point, really, it's just trying to get as much as they can and try and make sure that they win the next map in dominating fashion. They've got the bleed back in their favour. No, they didn't. Wallu came in and cleaned up. That's 2 men down. Can he make it 3? No, he can't. Just taken down by David there, who always seems to be the person I click on whenever I'm looking.
That's better.
Nunna comes in, take down 1. Is he going to finish it up? Is he going to be able to take Baiyu? It doesn't look like he. Oh no, Baiyu holding on to B. This is a pretty fluid fight around B. Everyone is piling in more and more men. It is becoming the Stalingrad of this map.
Nice reference, as you can now see. Oh, fire coming in from Bite Me Yard, taking down 2 members of Dignitas as they're trying to push into that point. But more fire coming in, as you can see Rock and Dignitas now fighting over this C point. Now, I notice, obviously, that's quite strange, is you're not seeing any members of the Rock team actually going for that final C point. But it looks to be defended by at least a single member, as now you can see the Rock team actually appear to be on the roof. And now they're looking to capture that point back. But 39 tickets remaining, 63 tickets for Team RU. And that's the Dignitas team. So they're now in the process of capturing A. You can see, obviously, the Rock now in the process of trying to capture C. Having a little bit of a tussle with Wallu. And you can see Wallu being taken down. So now Rock is in the process of capturing that point. Horek is moving in to support his teammate. And now you can see the Rock team moving in very aggressively onto the A point as the B point is being taken behind them, Dog. But this is a very impressive display by Team Rock, I have to say. I'm very impressed.
We are seeing 2 of the top teams in BF4. We are seeing Rock and Dig showing why they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the near future. Dignitas here may be slightly in the head, but that is only down to maybe a more tighter team play and a more... they know what goals they're going for. They seem to move quicker to flags whenever they're about to lose them than Rock is. Well, saying that, Rock right now is going to take 2 flags with B and C. But right now, Dignitas just need to make sure they don't end up being sloppy like they did in the last one and shut this game out with as many tickets as they can get.
Yeah, now at the moment it's looking like the bleed is being taken off of Russia and being reapplied to China, as you can see. But however, you can see, there we go, the Dignitas team now really going hardcore for that B point, working together with 4 people, all trying to get that point. Down goes that sensor from Wallu, and now you can see Bite Me Ya moving in. As you can see, then taken down very quickly as he tries to come in towards the B point. And now you can see Dignitas moving in from all directions, moving in to try and defend that point as they're down to 14 tickets, with the enemies down to 14 tickets. More fire coming out, every single kill, cutting down a valuable ticket for the Rock team. And it's possible that they may not actually be able to get any further with this. But the bleed is now onto China. As you can see, the Dignitas team now moving into the C point. That's Masu and Nure trying to take back that C point as quickly as they possibly can. We're watching to see how they get on here. And it looks like the A point is being captured by Akosh and the other members of the Rock team, as Dignitas now moving in to take the B point. And yeah, this is round and round the circles at the moment we seem to be going here, Dogbert.
They're shutting out the game the way they should have in the first game. They know where they need to concentrate on, and they did it very effectively at the end there. So that's another 30 tickets for the Dignitas side. They obviously won 62 points in the previous one.
Indeed they did, yes. So obviously that's a total of 92. Moving into the next map. Now the next map is going to be Dawnbreaker.
Oh, I haven't seen this map yet being played competitively, so it'll be an interesting one.
It will be indeed.
It's just, there was a lot of key moments in that game where Dignitas were in very dangerous position, and they could have really not been able to take these flags back, and they ended up being maybe stuck on one for quite a significant amount of time. But the fact that they were able to get the right people in the right place at the right time was critical. They were always behind, they were always pressuring, and they had that lovely sensor which Rock was not employing at all, which I'm not 100% sure how big an impact that had, but being able to know exactly where your opponent is very important, especially if you're hiding up in a building. The ability to know either when to watch your back and when to throw a grenade is obviously the key in holding either a flag or even just capturing a flag when you're down one. It's very important.
Definitely is. Definitely is indeed. So, my apologies to those people who keep getting disconnected. Not sure what the problem is. I think it might be the ISP. I'm not 100% certain. I've been streaming up until this point without any problems. So, not 100% certain what to say on that. But we're into the map already. So, let's just check to make sure. Yeah, everyone's on. I think it's fair to say we're off and running already, Dogbert. These guys don't hang around, do they?
I do not think anyone's started just yet, as many players have not even spawned.
Okay, I'll let you off then.
Yeah, I'll let you off. How about that one?
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah. I'm interested to see how this map works. I have not... obviously, I played this in a public, but in competitive play, I think this one looks like the most straightforward in holding 2 flags. But... how will the spawns affect how the teams deploy and redeploy? Because it's all about how they redeploy. And are you kidding me? On a free cam, I can't go through glass?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No. Found that problem on a previous cast
God.
for Level BF. And yeah, you can't fly through glass, so you can't get your camera out until that glass gets broken.
Oh my God, really? It's so annoying. It doesn't even open elevated doors. Sorry, it doesn't even open automatic doors if I go near it. Oh,
No.
I found a way in.
Not.
It's okay. There's also, I believe, some. No one used a sniper rifle actually, which I was talking about in that previous game.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I've seen at least. Which, to be honest, probably isn't a surprise because it's kind of fast-paced game. You die a lot. It's very difficult to keep it up. But this game on this map, I'm not sure if it's a grenade launcher or auto sniper. So I'd like to see some of the Uber unlocks being used, but I won't hold my breath.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Obviously,
I want to see the Uber grenade launcher, man. I want to see it. It's my 4th most used weapon.
It's your what, sorry?
Right, it's my 4th most used weapon, the Terminator 2 grenade launcher.
Oh, you dirty spammer.
I chased none around the public servers of it. Every time I found him, I would be just popping him, and he would leave me very aggressive messages afterwards.
Oh, Masu just knifing one of the enemy rock players. Oh, that's just mean. Hit him on the nose with the hilt of his dagger and then stabbed him. Just cruel behaviour there. So obviously we're just waiting for these guys to get themselves sorted. And then we should be underway as we're watching Dignitas basically destroying government property by the looks of it, as they're just going around breaking every window they can find. Which I suppose
Finns don't care. Maybe they're listening to this cast and they're like, right, Dogbert needs our help.
Yeah.
He needs all glass to be destroyed so he can actually look around.
Exactly.
And I gotta say, thank you guys. You're the best.
I noticed they haven't destroyed the TV, so they obviously approve of the programming that's being provided. So we shall see. But yeah, it is a bit silly that you can't travel through glass.
It's okay, I'm sure it's something will be fixed in the near future. Either that or glass is going to become the enemy of spectators everywhere.
Indeed it is, yes. The one weakness of spectators everywhere.
Oh, Dignitas is coming into this round with a 92 ticket lead. How that will affect how Rock is going to play it? Will they come out really aggressive here and try and get a dominating start? Or will Dignitas end up being the team that ends up thinking, well, you know what, we've got a lead here. We can try and sit back. We don't have to do anything crazy. Or are we going to see a complete reverse of that in this game? Is it going to be Rock that end up being the team that is holding the ticket advantage going into the next round?
We shall see, indeed. I'm looking forward to this battle. As you can now see, the Dignitas guys getting ready, taking the C point. And we're now watching as the Rock guys look to move, to try and take in. It looks like they tried to get in there and take that B point as quickly as possible from under the nose of Dignitas. Bite Me Yar takes a quick trip on high explosive airways as the nade gets dropped between his legs. As Aurek, their lovely nades coming in from Team Dignitas there, absolutely aimed to perfection.
Rock sent 3 people towards B. Now 2 went to A and 3 went to B. Dignitas sent 4 to B and 1 to C. while Rock were fighting and doing quite a good job in the corridor between B, Masu came up behind them and caught them completely by surprise and wiped them. But the two men that had gone to A managed to come around the back of B, while Dignitas were busy trying to go around the back of them at B and managing to capture B.
Interesting. Interesting
Well, as soon
indeed.
as that happened, as soon as they realised B was being contested, Masu, after he just cleaned up two of the Rock players, went straight to A and captured it. And that keeps the bleed on Dignitas' side, and that's what they need right now.
Yeah, so you can see obviously both of those points, both of the points being held by the US team. So obviously Dignitas holding both of those points, and the C point being held by China. So the bleed is now on the China team, and they need to turn this around as a matter of urgency.
And unfortunately, Rock have had a disconnect during the game there. They all literally got wiped at one point there, pushing on both B and A, and then one of their players got dropped. So that's very unfortunate from Rock, especially. I keep calling them Core. I know one player in their team, and all of a sudden it's Team Core. So yeah, it puts them in a very, very awkward situation right now. Team Dignitas here have set up their defences. They have two covering the road, which is Walu and Masu, and they're basically covering anything moving towards A and around B. Meanwhile, Dig have got their standard 3 people defending B, and it's up to Rock here to decide where they're going to commit, because at this point in time, they really need to throw as many people they have, even if it is only 4, in one direction and one direction only, because they cannot let this ticket bleed last as long as it is.
Well, the thing is also, you can see from the layout of Dignitas means that if the guys decide to push hardcore up one side, that the Dignitas team can basically then just rotate to either the left or the right and move forces into that area as quickly as possible. Now, that's obviously advantageous. Now, you'll notice that David 2K6 has returned. He's back in the server.
It was Core, who managed to get round the back of Dignitas defences here. As you can see, Dignitas are still expecting to push from C. Now that A is about to be caught now, what are Dignitas going to do? Instant reaction here. If you're watching the minimap, 2 of their players who were defending A run back. Meanwhile, 3 players from Dignitas that were covering B rush straight into C and clean up. So that's Dignitas here, expecting to lose A and going all out on B. At C and managing to capture all of them. That's just very, very solid strategic play from Dignitas there.
Yeah, now obviously Giggly, unfortunately, having to make his way back towards B. The C point then retaken by 2 members of Rock, and now they're in the process of moving up towards the B point. The B point being contested. 2 members of Dignitas are moving up towards that, so you've got Nure and Masu now. Now that's quite interesting to see. Rather than actually going for a back rage, Masu has actually gone down towards the C point to try and capture that C point. It's almost like they're actually giving up that B point in order to ensure the capture of the C point. So now you can see friends spawning on him as Bite Me Yar takes down one of the enemy Dignitas players. And now you can see them moving in towards that point. So it's looking pretty good here as far as Dignitas are concerned. 175 tickets to 111. There's still all to play for, obviously, but the Chinese team need to get this ticket bleed off them as a matter of urgency, Dogbook.
That's true, but it looks like they're going to probably take 3 flags here. Dignitas are probably going to take A, but I think Rock will end up with B and C and probably start forming up their defensive line to try and hold the flags. What happened there was Dignitas started clustering in the house between B and C. Meanwhile, Rock were on either side of them and will be able to put fire from both directions and threaten both flags. Meanwhile, Dignitas now all have spawned over on the A building, and they're going to probably start to try and threaten onto B, but I think right now they're hoping to probably try and get around to either C or get a good spawn and take the C flag. But actually, I'm wrong. Dignitas here are going in like a sledgehammer onto B and capturing it for the ticket bleed in their favour now, with 151 to 103 to Rock.
Yeah, now obviously that difference of 92 still in Dignitas' favour, and obviously they've got around a sort of 50-53 burn or bleed difference on the US team against the Chinese team. So Dignitas is currently in control of this situation, and Rock are in trouble and they need to turn it around as a matter of urgency, as Nura taking down Akos as he's pushing up on the left. CREiZiZ in there trying to do some damage. A little bit of a pick onto the enemy there. Out comes the nade, as there we go. Ankosh again gets taken down as soon as he's revived. Poor Ankosh. And he won't be able to be revived again due to the mechanics in Battlefield 4. And now we're watching, looks like Nure having a little bit of a run-in with the enemy members of Rock. Now you can see more members of Rock supporting and trying to move up towards that B point. Nure doing a great job of defending that point, taking down Core as he pushes in. And there wasn't really a lot they can do. That being very well defended by Nure, guarding that left-hand side of the point. And it's looking pretty good as far as they're concerned, wouldn't you say, Dogbert?
It is indeed a very important pick up there by Henke. Over at A, Rock managed to get a good spawn right behind A, but luckily Henke literally just seen them and took out 2. And even though they're holding A and B here, as you've seen, as soon as he killed those 2 people, they literally spawned in the same place again, and that means they're going to take A. Dignitas are going to try and contest this with 2 men, but one of them's already down, so it depends on what Masu wants to do here. He has Hendrik, which just respawned on him, so maybe they're going to recontest A. They have to right now because they have literally no flags, so they have to go all in at A, and I think they'll probably hold A, and I think Rock here need to set up their defensive line and try and hold B before Dignitas stop piling in on it again.
Now we're looking at Horek, who's trying to defend against what is essentially going to be the Dignitas pain train. And needless to say, he's playing it smart. He's running because he wants to try and it's not going to do him much good as he gets basically snuck up on by Valu, and who absolutely drills him full of holes. And now you can see Valu moving in on his own towards the A point to try and take out Akosh. There we go, takes him down, moves in towards the A point, and now is in a position to take that A point and prevent a full bleed being present on Team Dignitas, as they're looking at 122 tickets to 51. So still Dignitas having the advantage. Good play there by Valu, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, very good play. I mean, David and Core managed to take C, but I think they may be overcommitted to the attack on C. It gave Dignitas enough time to capture A and B, and you got to remember right now, it's for Dignitas, they really just need to hold the ticket bleed going in their favour. They don't really need to do much else. They can sit there and try and win each an individual firefight, but really all they need is get the ticket bleed. But right now, Core is reacting perfectly. They got enough people in the right places. They're probably going to hold C here. Is it a 2v1? Yep, Hendrik got down, so that's China side. Rock is going to take C and B, and the ticket bleed is going to stay with them.
Now, look at this. Valu going clutch, doing a fantastic job there, cutting down many members of Rock as they pushed into that A point. Now, that's interesting to see that Valu, you can see Masu down at the C point, Valu holding on to the B point, but about to be attacked from one side. But no, he takes down, that was Horek taking down Giggly, and Nure also being taken down by Akosh, and that's a pretty intensive push there onto the B point, and now Corey Yu is about to get into a world of hurt as yet more, it looks like Giggly and Valu moving into that point, and there we go, down go 2 members of Rock as Masu also moving in on that point as well. No, it turns out that actually 2 members of Dignitas went down there, Dogbert.
They did indeed. Dignitas and Core were both Rock and Dignitas were both doing the same thing, which is they were putting their pressure onto Dignitas on C and Rock onto A. Both teams won the fight they wanted, and the other guy was just trying to hold it. But it's all about the repositioning after the flag capture. Dignitas still had B. That meant Core were the ones that Rock were going to be the ones that would have to come out onto the B flag to capture it. Dignitas repositioned quicker. Unfortunately for Dignitas, Rock's spawn points is right behind C, so they capture it instantly. So it's all about the B flag now. Who's going to hold it? And it looks like Rock are the team that are going to be all over it.
You can see now 2 members of Dignitas moving in towards the B point at the moment. You can see they're trying to be defended. As you can see, oh, there we go. Akash unfortunately killed Nore, but was being attacked from multiple directions. And David 2K6 also, you can see them now getting the bleed onto Team Dignitas. As you can see, Dignitas pulling back towards the A site and seeing if they can actually continue to hold this, push back onto the Rock team. But you can obviously see Valu seems to be in a rather interesting location and playing it safe, playing it smart, but being quiet about it. Very interesting to watch this dog. But oh, look at that! Oh, nice timing by Valu. Steps out, kills one person to his left, kills one person to his right, and shuts down any attempts by Rock to push into that B bomb site, helping his team to actually maintain that bleed onto the Chinese team. Good play there, I thought, Dogbert.
Yeah, and with that, that pretty much closes out this round for Dignitas with a probably about 66 points here. Rock are going to come all out here to try and get some kills, but there's nothing they can do at this point, I think. It was very fluid, but Dignitas had the ticket bleed for the significant amount of time. When Dignitas lost it, Rock held it for quite a while, but not long enough. And then after that, they played Ring Around the Flag and just didn't really capture anything.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but obviously a good play there by the Rock team. Have to say, very impressed by them. Obviously, going up against a pretty established team like Dignitas, they've got to be quite pleased with their performance in reality, really. Dignitas
are working as a well-oiled machine. They are doing just very, very well. Not taking anything away from Rock, they're doing very, very well. But coming into the last round of the map, they are 159 tickets behind Dignitas.
Indeed. Indeed. Not good. Not good at all. So, we are on to the final round. This is where... Now, the thing is, 159, they're going to have to play out of their socks in order to take this by over 159 tickets, especially against a team of the calibre of Dignitas, wouldn't you say? Apparently not. So,
sorry, I was really trusting.
That's fine, mate, it's fine, no worry about it.
Rock is a player down right now, so I don't think this is live.
Okay, that's fair.
And if it is, then I don't know why most people haven't spawned or removed.
So yeah, we're just waiting.
Yeah, so for Rock right now, obviously it's not core. I keep saying core, it is Rock. They really, really need to have the most perfect game ever. They are so far behind. But they really, really need to just go all out. They need to get not full domination, but just 2 flags and hold it for as long as they can.
Yeah, that's definitely going to have to be the case. They got to play the game of their lives in order to turn this around. So obviously we're waiting for everybody to get themselves back onto the server, and then we should be underway with the last round of this domination match between Rock and Team Dignitas. Now, obviously we need to confirm whether or not the map is actually or the matches are continuing during the course of the night, or whether or not it's actually going to be a 2-parter. We'll have to confirm that, but obviously we'll come back to you on that one, as obviously some people need to go to bed because they've got other things to do in the morning, you know. So we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with that. So yeah, as you can see, I mean, a pretty interesting map to actually play. There's not really a lot of use of any of the verticality options on here. If I'm right in thinking, I don't think there's any lifts in here, except for that burning building. You don't really want to go anywhere near that one. But we'll just have to wait and see, as it looks like, yeah, there are no lifts per se on top of any of these buildings. So you can't use them to any point of your advantage to parachute down onto other points for this particular map. So pretty much everything is going to be done at the ground level, which makes things like, for example, choke points a lot easier. But you do still have that open area and that little sky bridge in between the 2 sections between A and B, or A and C, I should say, past the television and past the magnetic scanners. So quite interesting to see, very interesting to watch, and we're still waiting for another member of Rock to return, and then we should be underway. So thank you for staying with us. My apologies for the technical problems that we've had today. I do hope it hasn't ruined too much of it for you. I do apologise about that, trying to figure out what's going on that, and kick relevant bottoms, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes. So we're just waiting for the last member of Rock to rejoin the server. They will then restart the round, and we will be underway with the final round of this match. Let's see. So this is interesting that the Levolution thing has actually been done automatically. So you don't have to trigger it when doing the 5v5, which is rather interesting.
Where is the Levolution thing on this map? I haven't seen it.
Have you never seen it?
Oh, not on this one.
Okay. If you go down, down the road, you know where the bridge is that's collapsed?
Oh. Nope, no, I'm not going to have a chance because the game is about to start.
Basically, at either end of the road, there's a little manhole sort of cover or a slot section, and you go down there, and there's actually a gas controller. And if you set that to shut or off or something like that, and then you go down the other end of the road and set the other end of it to off, then it eventually, over the course of time, it overloads and then blows up, basically.
Okay. So yeah, hopefully we won't get any awkward drops, but Dignitas are coming into this map with a significant lead.
Indeed, 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 indeed. And that significant lead, obviously, 159 tickets. And considering that everybody starts with 200, that's a serious hurdle. Now, let's follow Valu as he's making his way past the flames and destruction and burnt out buses. As there we go. Now look at that. It looks like, oh goodness me, all of Dignitas literally went straight for the B point, and only one of them actually peeled off to go for the A point. That's Nura. So now you can see them going pretty hardcore into that point, as unfortunately Giggly get taken down, and now that's quite a turnaround there. It looks like the core team caught them napping and took them out from both directions. Very surprising there, Dogbert.
Yes, this is the start, but Rock need. They are so far behind right now, but as soon as the tickets on the screen for the Rock team goes below 159, they are out of the test cup. So for them, they have to keep these two flags, and they need to hold them tight. Like, letting Dignitas here into B here is going to be a big problem. If that goes down, then you're looking for a very, very bad game for them. They need to get a significant ticket lead. They need to clean up whenever there's a loose player, either on one of their rear or front flags. Right now, they just need to have a very tight and fast-moving game. Sorry, defensive game, not fast-moving. Fast-moving is definitely not what they need right now.
Yeah, definitely. You can see now Akash, who's up by the A point, and now the B point is being contested by Valu and the members of Dignitas, and they're in there, as you can see, trying to heal each other up and get it back into a operating state. And you can see now that they've actually got the bleed back onto the US team, and that's going to start going down very quickly. As
True,
it looks
but Horek
like
and Dave moved immediately to C, which is what they needed to do. They need to make sure that at no point in this game does Dignitas get the bleed against them, and that's what they're trying to do. Unfortunately for Rock, they have not been able to make much on their impression at this attack at A. They're just waiting. They're going to go in. Is Core being able to? Core did it. Core comes in. That's 2-on-1 right now with Masu as the only defender on this flag. He's got Henke spawning with him as well. I think it's just too much. I think Dignitas here, the ticket bleed is continuing now. Rock are going down to 170 tickets. As soon as that is down to 159, remember that Dignitas are advancing.
Yeah,
that ticket bleed is hurting Rock right now.
Yeah, so you can see David 2K6 now waiting as a nade comes flying past him, and a nade literally getting thrown right at his nose and taken down very quickly. So that was a good play there by Dignitas. They pushed into that point pretty intensely and took down Orek and David 2K6. So any attempts to try and hold that point.
Rock cannot advance any further in the tournament. Dignitas have beaten them out here with now a full cap completely. And if before we get, obviously the game is still going, they're playing for just the fun, I guess, or maybe there's something I'm not aware of. But Masu has been in the right place at the right time and has got some clutch plays for Dignitas here. just as he goes down to bite me, yeah.
Indeed, indeed. And that's the kind of thing that you want, is a player who can go in there, make the clutch play at the clutch moment, so to speak. It's all very well making big plays when it doesn't actually matter to anybody. But it's making those big plays at the time when everyone's stressed and there's pressure on and you need to actually win the match in order to progress. So, obviously, a good display there by Dignitas, and they're obviously going to be moving on to the next round. But I'd have to say, I think it's fair to say that Rock should not go away with this with their heads hung in shame. I think they've acquitted themselves extremely well in this competition.
Dignitas are looking very strong right now, but that takes nothing away from Rock. Rock have been a solid team with a lot of players that have done really, really well. I think it's just how they develop into the future, and maybe, seriously, right now, Rock are a good team. They are going to be a top 5 to top 10 BF4 team easily. They're giving Dignitas a very difficult game here, and it's not a walkover at all. They are giving them a very tough fight.
Yeah, definitely have to say, very impressed by this display. Obviously, good to see CREiZiZ in there as well, doing his thing. So you can see Core, we're watching Core at the moment. He's obviously going to try and get out. He can't get to Bite Me Yard to revive him. He's going for Value, and there we go. Nice drop onto Value as he was making his way over towards the next point. And you can see now CREiZiZ trying to take cover. As there we go, taking down, looks like Nuri being taken down as well. As CREiZiZ is coming under fire from all directions, taken down by Giggly and Masu from both directions. Not looking good for them, and now we find out as it looks like Rock are going to try and take the A point and then push up towards the C. Possibly, we'll have to wait and see. Now Henke is waiting at the C point. You also then got Giggly in there as well, and Masu also.
Dignitas here are just holding up their defensive being C. Obviously, if you actually look on the map, Henke is kind of hanging around at C. He's kind of expecting, because obviously a lot of Rock players are going down, but maybe there'll be a surprise spawn around C. It might catch them by surprise, but that hasn't happened just yet. Obviously now Rock are putting a lot of pressure onto B, so he's going to have to come out. And I think he just cleaned up. Who did he take out there? Bite Me, what a name. But yeah, Dignitas now just kind of riding the wave, really.
Indeed, indeed. Now, obviously, we got CREiZiZ just getting taken out as he pushed in towards that point. So now you can see Masu and Henke down by the A point. You can now see the other members of Rock moving in towards the C. So they're going to try and take that point. And you can now see the China team currently with 76 tickets remaining. Or sorry, the American team with 76 tickets remaining, and the Chinese team with 122. So, like you said, all pretty much over as far as Rock are concerned, but like you said, maybe playing for honour, difficult to say, or playing to get shot in the face and grenaded to death from multiple directions. But
I think I get to enjoy first person mode a bit more now. I have spent the majority of the time.
I just saw.
It's crazy. What was it with me in spawning on top of like the most crazy firefights in this game?
That was Giggly, wasn't it? It literally, I just saw him jumping over the top of 3 Rock guys and literally just gunned 2 of them down and just missed taking out the 3rd with a pistol. So that was fantastic.
I'm just watching Masu right now, and he has been the linchpin on this map for Dignitas. He's managed to make a lot of really big clutch plays, and really, is he going to do it again? Oh, he did! He takes out Horek and Core at the same time. This guy is on fire tonight. Yeah,
some very impressive gunplay here by Masu. Always good to see. You need that kind of clutch player in the game, giving you a little bit of advantage. Nice shot into Bite Me Yar at distance. That must have been at least sort of 30 to 50 feet. He's staying out of the way of those grenades as they're coming in his general direction. And now basically is moving around looking for somebody else to murder. And now you can see 43 tickets remaining on the board. As you can see, it looks like Masu then moving into the point again. Unfortunately being cut down. As you can see, Nure moving in from the left as well, then being taken down. And you can see old Giggly comes in from the back and back rages the remaining members of the Rock. But it looks like, no, they actually have survived. And they're taking down multiple members of Dignitas. And so these guys, it looks like they're going to try and capture the C point back again. And Masu doing something over there. Looks like he's on the Sky Bridge looking for prospective victims. No, it looks like it's actually David 2K6 who's actually up there at the moment. Making his way over to the next point. As a nade comes flying over. And he manages to kill Henker. He ate the effect of that nade. But unfortunately then followed up with eating some bullets. And unfortunately didn't go much further in that respect. So looking pretty good. I think it's fair to say Dignitas with a strong sowing. On to the next round. And you can see them just bleeding tickets away at the moment. And yeah, there's not really much else you can say.
It's been a... First map was... The first round went in Dignitas' favour. And from then on, they've really just been setting the pace and tone of the entire matchup. Rock have had moments of brilliance where they have done very, very well. But it's not been as consistent as Dignitas. As soon as they took the lead in either round, they pretty much kept it.
Indeed. Indeed they have. Now, obviously, we're going to be finding out what's next. I need to clarify how long the cup is, whether or not the cup continues until finished, or whether or not it moves on to a second day. We'll have to confirm that detail. But obviously, we'll be trying to bring you as much of the coverage as we possibly can. So, we're waiting for the tickets essentially just to bleed out. As now you can watch the likes of Giggly or Giquilly. Apologies for that. I must be getting old. That's what it is. It's past my bedtime. So a few
it's been a very... This map, I think, is going to be generally quite very defensive, as we've seen. The previous map is a lot more aggressive, and I think that kind of maybe favoured Rock's playstyle. Dignitas, on the other hand, really seem quite flexible. They seem to play... they like to hold the two flags, and they go for a third only when they are being contested, which, to be honest, is standard battlefield doctrine.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, obviously, you know, Goldmund is a bit more of an open map as well in that respect. So, you know, it's still within certain sections, and there's still quite a few buildings in there as well. But so no, that was a good display there by Dignitas, and obviously they move on to the next round on the competition, and we shall go and find out what the latest deal is, and bring you hopefully more Battlefield 4 action. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back. Ooh. Okay, well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for your Battlefield coverage for this evening. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking with us throughout all the technical problems, the woes, etc., etc. We thank you for that. We greatly appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the coverage that you have seen and the commentary that you have heard. Thank you very much. Good night, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.